Yeah, I'm gonna get started in a few minutes, family. I'm gonna let the room populate a little bit. So, in the meantime, in between time, I am going to share some of what I want to speak about today in the jumbotron. Just some statistics, etc. That the types of statistics that we know that this dog whistle bigot Douglas, what is his name? Douglas Murray. Yeah, Douglas Murray. This guy from Britain. He's a British guy. He has no clue about. So let's let the room populate a little bit, and we're gonna get started. We are gonna get started. I'm just putting some stuff in the jumbotron, so just bear with me. We are not gonna let stuff like this slide any longer. And the fact that we have the agency now through our own forms of media to address these things and for them to be heard by large portions of our awakened group is great, because then they get to go back into their neighborhoods and in their workspaces and share it with everybody else. That's what I did for 3 years at the last job that I had, the job that I worked 3 years at, which was 2 years ago. And somebody has their hand up to request already. We're not bringing nobody up as of yet, except the people that's from this particular crowd. Somebody named Ryan, I'm white for FBA, has his hand up. Y'all gonna have to wait a few minutes, y'all. Just make sure y'all share the room out. I'll put some stuff in the jumbotron, and we're gonna start off by reading the article. We're gonna start off by reading this guy's article, because this thing is, we've seen these people pop up over the years, right? And I know for me specifically, I usually let this stuff. I just but when I noticed that he was trying to sell his book, he's trying to promote a book, and the name of his book is called "The War on the West." The War on the West. So we have to understand what is meant exactly by the West. There's a book that I listened to it on Audible. It's called White No More. Let me make sure I have the title right, because I would like for you all to listen to that book as well. White Too Long, excuse me, by Robert P. Jones. And what he's doing in this particular book, White Too Long, is showing the depravity of white supremacy, is particularly through the Christian institution here in the United States of America. And Christianism itself, Christendom is another synonym for West, right? It's something that is of European contrivance. The Europeans founded this religion. I mean, we all know the history of it. It's the facts. So this is what made me want to say something and engage this Douglas Murray guy. The War on the West. And then listening to this book, White Too Long, on Audible. Chapter 2, I believe it is, he details the Colfax, Louisiana situation. Right after the Civil War, blacks were in office. They were legally there. They were legally in office. Legally in office. And the white mobs got together. So after the assassination of Abraham Lincoln and the accidental president Andrew Johnson, the worst president in U.S. history, restored most of the rebels, save his political enemies, back into their former positions of power. And he basically told the states, hey, do what you want. Just do what you want. And whites in Louisiana, particularly Colfax, they turned the cannon on to the courtrooms and the city hall, places where black people were. And wherever, I believe in this situation, we were held up in a courtroom, and they went to work. They executed freedmen. They executed us. 50 at a time. I think they executed another 30 freedmen that night. There was never any justice. Never any justice brought for these murders. Wasn't justice brought for many of the murders in this country. From white Anglo-Saxons, white immigrant Europeans, particularly in places like New York, against the freedmen in this country. Frederick Douglass in New York, it was either him or his son, was whipped to an inch of his life by white folks. There was no justice. There's no justice. And I want to start off, right, as the room populates, I want to start off by reading some of the words from Lee Atwater, because I like to frame my discussions, my rebuttals. And I think Lee Atwater, he was an aide to Ronald Reagan. I believe that was Ronald Reagan at the time. Let me see. Let me make sure. Ronald Reagan, right? He's teaching them because he had been in politics for so long. He started to learn, y'all can't just say outright racist things anymore. So he says, you start out in 1954 by saying nigger, nigger, nigger. By 1968, you can't say nigger. That hurts you, backfires. So you say stuff like forced busing, states' rights, and all of that stuff. And you're getting so abstract. Now you're talking about cutting taxes and all these things you're talking about are totally economic things. And the byproduct of them is blacks get hurt worse than whites. We want to cut this. It's much more abstract than even the busing thing. And a hell of a lot more abstract than nigger, nigger, nigger. Of course, this is a contracted form of that speech, but I wanted to lay the premise in Atwater's speech. Racist dog whistles. Racist dog whistles. And that's what the guy, Douglas K. Murray, does with this particular article. Matter of fact, let me put the link to the article in the Jumbotron. Hold on, y'all. Bear with me. Let me put this in the Jumbotron. So I want people to be able to follow along, because I'm going to read the article. I'm going to read this article. Why didn't the article show up in my feed yet? That's interesting. Just bear with me 1 second, family. Oh, that's why. We gonna get spicy. We're gonna talk a little spicy today. I'll try my best to keep it a little professional on here. You know, I always speak with a lot of my New York isms, etc. But we try our best to keep it professional. But when you are dealing with the devil, then you have to call the devil out for who and what he is. And this guy, Douglas K. Murray, is just like the rest of those devils. And we're going to get to him. So let's start. Reparations aren't about justice, they're an act of revenge. If you all would notice, I have several bits of graphs in the Jumbotron, right, showing black positionality, wealth-wise, asset-wise, home ownership-wise, etc., among other groups. This guy tries to paint this picture that black people are just lazy and other people like Asian. We're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. And to all of the right-wingers that are in this room, the white right-wingers, right? The ones that might not be racist. I don't know. This guys like this is the problem. New York Post allowing this man to publish this trash. The New York Post is owned by Rupert Murdoch. It's just racism in print. That's all it is. And that's all the New York Post has ever been. When I grew up in New York, you never seen black folks from the hood buying this newspaper. The only people that brought it were white folks. I was young. I really didn't understand it until I got older, of course. And I started to see what they were doing, the stories they were covering, etc. Like when Aaliyah died, you know, we was calling Aaliyah our princess. The New York Post wrote a scathing article against Aaliyah. And you can Google and keyword that right now. And that's the problem with the Republican Party in and of itself. But I think it's time to push these racists and these bigots back to their party of origin, the Democratic Party. That's their party of origin. Let's be historically accurate here. Okay, so let's start with Douglas Murray's article. Let me see. Reparations aren't about justice. They're an act of revenge. That's about as dog whistle as it gets, huh? Asking for a debt who are owed because of all of the stuff that our people have went through, from not just slavery. They keep sticking right there at slavery. What happened to us after slavery was exponentially worse. No, we're asking for the debt to be repaid from that time of slavery to Reconstruction up until today. And we're going to go, to some of the pieces that I have in a Jumbotron. Feel free to scroll through them so y'all can look at them and see some of what I've highlighted. He has an image up, right? Peep the image that he has up. This is dog whistle racist 101, an image of what appears to be a white hand handing a black hand some money. This is the image that he used. So this is his way of using a visual that shows that reparations is a handout from white people, because white people believe that they are the U.S. government, to black people. Y'all can see that in the picture in the article. And there's a caption to the image that says, many who claim to support reparations for slavery say it will foster racial harmony in a divided nation. But the unequal distribution of funds to one race would light a fire across the nation. See, they've been saying this since the since Reconstruction in the mid 1800s. And I'm going to get to some of that in a few. Y'all know we're going to go into that bloody shirt book. You already know. So he goes, 10 years ago, the idea of reparations sat on the political fringes in America. The question of whether or not compensation should once have been paid to former slaves had died out. Really? It died out because the HR 40 was introduced in 1989, I believe it was, 1990. So one of you could correct me on the date on that, but I don't know where this guy's getting his information from. I don't know. He said 10 years ago, the idea of reparations sat on the political fringes in America. That is just not true. It's just not true. The question of whether or not compensation should once have been paid to former slaves had died out. Not true. Not least because by the start of the 21st century, no one in America had actually suffered from slavery. The country was a century and a half away from the bloody civil war it had fought over the issue. This is another of these racist, devilish, dog whistle talking points. No one in America had actually suffered from slavery. In Rome, they had a term that was written in Latin called servitutis macula, which means the stain of slavery. So while they had freedmen in Rome, the posterity of the freedmen at times were still mistreated. They were ill-treated because they still bore the status of their prior condition in many ways. It was that prior condition via the status of freedmen was passed down to them. Today, we still suffer from macula servitutis, the stain of slavery. We still suffer from that until this day. We're going to get to some of that. That's why I posted that stuff in the Jumbotron, to show that we're still products, victims of the same discrimination from the 1800s. He says, you got to peep this slick language, but there's a tendency in our own age which does not allow wounds to mend or heal. Indeed, there is a movement that locates long-healed wounds in order to rip them open again and then complain about the hurt caused to themselves. See, when you understand, and have a command and grasp of the English language and proper sentence syntax, how to spot logical fallacies and bullshit propaganda, you can easily bust this little paragraph open and see where this bigot is trying to take this thing. He says, but there's a tendency in our own age, speaking about today, which does not allow wounds to mend or heal. There is a movement that locates long-healed wounds in order to rip them open again, and then complain about the hurt caused to themselves. He basically said everything that is going on with us is a product of our own selves. He just tried to word it in a slick way. That doesn't fly here. See, that flies with his right-wing base, because most of them people are dumb as a bag of rocks. The right-wing fascists, the ones that promote the racism, who get riled up by it. Those people are dumb as a bag of rocks. So of course, but CNN just last year put out the report that showed that blacks lead in hate crimes. Still, I have a hate crime statistic from 2012 that shows that by far we lead in hate crimes against. Let me be clear with my words. I have in the Jumbotron from Statista.com from 2019 that we lead in hate crimes against. What does this person mean? That about these long-healed wounds. The racists in America are not letting any wounds heal. They keep the wounds open. Matter of fact, they keep creating more wounds and cutting over parts that have already been cut and damaged. That don't fly here, Douglas. He says in 2014, the writer Ta-Nehisi Coates wrote an essay in The Atlantic, The Case for Reparations. In recent times, few articles have had more impact, and he's right about that. It's Ta-Nehisi Coates' article that ramps the conversation of reparations up in the way that we have it today. People like Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore, who are trying to take credit for the reparations movement, are lying. They're liars. They're not the spark nor ignition behind this current reparations push. It was Ta-Nehisi Coates' articles. They just seen and found a way to grift, as Douglas Murray is doing here. He's trying to sell a book. Let me appeal to the racists in America. I don't even think this guy's a citizen of the country. I don't know. But I know I did some background research. He's a Brit. He says the issue of reparations began to be picked up by the radical left. Oh, there goes that term, radical left, and then made its way to the political center. Radical left. What's so radical about the left that's not in line with the radicalism of the right? I just want one of these people to get up here and explain that. I'm hoping that one of these guys that are in the crowd can get up here and explain what radicalism means on the left and how it differs, if it differs, from radicalism on the right. Said it made its way to the political center. So what he's basically implying here is that we can't now let it go right, because now it done hit left. I mean, it started left. Now it's getting to the center. And if it keeps going past center, it's going to start moving towards whiteness. I mean, excuse me. Well, yeah, I guess I'm right. Whiteness and right. But white supremacy is embedded in both wings of this party, including its body in the center. He says, by the time of the Democratic primaries in 2020, all of the party's candidates were willing to talk about the issue. Some, including Kamala Harris and Elizabeth Warren, expressed support for some form of reparations. Such candidates pointed to the disparity between average household wealth in white families and black families in America. All right, that's a fact. But watch what this forked-tongued devil does here. Once the Democrats were in power, one of the first things they did in Congress was apply pressure on President Biden to set up a commission to study reparations for black Americans, both for slavery and for systemic racism. A guilty verdict that was already in. He's using swaying fallacies and swaying language. You are guilty. America is guilty. Douglas, they are guilty. They tolerated these crimes against humanity. When slavery was ended and Abraham Lincoln was murdered, and the coup d'etat that we are still living through today had taken place, Andrew Johnson didn't want to give us repair. Matter of fact, he got rid of the Freedmen's Bureau. Said the Negroes can pull themselves up by their own bootstrap. 4 million of us walking around homeless. No land, no money, no anything. This is what they said, and they've been echoing. They've been echoing this line ever since. Let me continue. It certainly is true that there are disparities of wealth. Here's that fork-tonguedness of the devil. It is certainly true that there are disparities of wealth between black and white Americans. But there are disparities between black and white Americans and Asian Americans as well. You know, we got to throw some other group. My brother Josh uses the term Ann Brown, because whenever we're talking about black folks, they got to always throw brown people in there. And Asian Americans, they fall up under brown people for the most part. Kamala Harris is an Asian American. She's a brown person. She's not black. She's not what traditionally would be called the yellow person. She's brown. He says, in America in the 2020s, Asian Americans significantly outperform every other racial group in their earnings. They earn more on average than white Americans, who in turn earn more than Hispanic Americans, who in turn earn more than black Americans. See, he's so blinded by his own ignorance that he doesn't see that in the hierarchy that he just listed of economic, the people that are elevating economically, black people are still at the bottom. It's crazy. If you would all go to the, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, the fifth graph in the Jumbotron. I believe it's the fifth graph in the Jumbotron. It says, flying up the ladder, Hispanic incomes grew faster than those of any other group in recent years. So it has white, black, Hispanic, and Asian, right? So from 2014 to 2019, Hispanics have, insofar as income, outpaced even Asians, outpaced blacks, and outpaced white. But there's something deceptive in Douglas's words and what this graph doesn't show. What this graph doesn't show is that black income has always been low, save the few times that immigration was curtailed, and we're talking way, way back in the days that, that is barely palpable at this point. White incomes, I mean, how much more does white income have to grow? So you would look at this graph and it would look like Hispanics and Asians are just outpacing white Americans. No, they're not. You're not. White wealth is solidified in this country. And I'm going to pull up some stats to that effect later. But I want people to follow along. I want to do a thorough breakdown of this because we have to address this devil. And we can't let them live. We can't let them breathe no longer. And if they don't want to face us, then we'll bring the fight to their doorstep, which is what we're doing now. And I offered Douglas to come in this room, and what he did was he, picked on the people from the hashtag cult, the ADOS cult, retweeted some of their crazy nonsense. He wouldn't touch anything that I put up. He wouldn't touch it at all. Brother Ibrahim, I don't know what happened. I'm going to send you the invite again. I don't know. All right, I'm going to keep reading. Ibrahim, I seen the invite. All right, there you go. There you go. All right, let me read this part, and then if you have anything to add, just jump in. It says, all talk of reparations must confront this statistic. If the cause of black economic underperformance in America in the 2020s is systemic racism, why do other groups outperform them? Why do groups who have arrived more recently outperform them? And why is the quote unquote systemic racism of America not holding down Asian Americans if it is so all pervasive? So I would like for you all to go to let me see, the next to last graph that I put up in the Jumbotron, right? See, we're going to do the data and the statistics and the numbers and the history over here. We don't have to blow dog whistles. In fact, we are snatching all dog whistles and we're melting them down into digital bullets so that we could keep shooting at these racist clowns like this Douglas K. Murray character. So this is an article that we share on Be the Power all the time that was put out by NPR. Cost of racism. U.S. economy lost $16 trillion because of discrimination, bank says. Citigroup estimates the U.S. economy lost $16 trillion over the past 20 years as a result of discrimination against African Americans, Douglas. I pray that Douglas has gumption enough, balls, nuts, or whatever word they use in Britain, to be in this room listening right now so he could get educated. Let me read that again. Citigroup estimates the U.S. economy lost $16 trillion over the past 20 years as a result of discrimination against African Americans. Citigroup did this study, Douglas. You should have consulted them before you tried to write this dog whistle article in the racist New York Post. The article says, nationwide protests have cast a spotlight on racism and inequality in the United States. Now, a major bank has put a price tag on how much the economy has lost as a result of discrimination against African Americans. $16 trillion, Douglas. Since 2000, U.S. gross domestic product lost that much as a result of discriminatory practices in a range of areas, including in education and access to business loans, according to a new study by Citigroup. It's not an insignificant number. By comparison, U.S. GDP totaled 19.65 trillion last year. So over that time span that we were discriminated against, it matched a year, almost a year's worth of GDP. The article continues, and not acting to reverse discriminatory practices, Douglas, will continue to exact the cost. Citigroup estimates the economy would see a $5 trillion boost over the next 5 years if the U.S. were to tackle key areas of discrimination against African Americans, Douglas. So when you ask, why do other groups outperform us? Why do groups who have arrived more recently outperform us? Why does systemic racism, quote unquote, of America, why is that not holding down Asian Americans if it's all so pervasive? See, being that you are a racist from Britain, you probably don't have a full understanding of the racist history of America, which causes you to make such an idiotic, ignorant statement. Brother Ibrahim, what do you have to say to that, brother, before we continue reading? Go in, bro.
You know, I read the article, right? That's what took me so long to get here. I said, let me just read the article and see what he's talking about. And I know you ain't went through the whole article, but you know, just as like somebody who writes articles, if I had to grade this article, he gets an F. This is he's complete. He's gaslighting.
Mm-hmm.
So he got two things right in the article, right? One is that Ta-Nehisi Coates wrote a piece on reparations, and around 2014, and it did spark or re-spark a lot of reparations talk.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing he got right was that there were Africans who kidnapped and sold Africans. Everything else is a lie to gaslight white people into being anti-reparations, right? So, like, from top to bottom, it's funny, out of all the groups in America, you would cherry pick the group that's doing better than white people. You know, the group that doesn't have a historic plight and oppression in America, and the group that when something did happen to them, they got paid. I mean, even when he talks about Holocaust survivors, he said Germany gave reparations to Holocaust survivors after World War II, and then he just stops there. So there's a whole bunch of racist, revisionist history to gaslight people. I don't know why somebody from another country is writing about reparations in America in a negative way. And because he writes books and because he does researches, and I guess he's prepping this to be a chapter or to be a part of his new book, I guess he's just testing the racist waters to just, you know, see how many emotions he can drum up. But yeah, I know you haven't went through the whole article, so I won't get any deeper, but man, he's just gaslighting.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, this is what's wrong with the Republican Party. Black people are becoming disaffected Democrats at astounding rates. So when you see this guy write this article in the New York Post, when you see him being interviewed on Fox News, when you see him sit down with people like Jordan Peterson, who I call like the guy that intellectualizes fascism in many cases, right? Then you wonder why the Republican Party has a black people problem. Yeah, go back into the Democratic Party, right? That's my solution for all the racists that are Republicans. Just go back to your party of origin. Make the job easier for us. Just make it easy. And those white people that don't hold these racist views, even if you disagree with reparations, there were Japanese Americans, and we found this out recently, right? that there were some Japanese Americans, because of the honor system of Japan, that fought against reparations, the reparations push of the Civil Liberties Act that was passed in 1989 when Japanese Americans received reparations, because they feel they have this honor system. We have some black people that feel that way. We have white people. We have a lot of different people that feel that way. But root your arguments not in racist dog whistles. Root them in facts and in data and in history. Dr. Sandy Darity and A. Kirsten Mullen wrote a whole book. They wrote up From Here to Equality, Reparations for Black Americans in the 21st Century. It destroys people like Thomas Sowell, who he references in this piece without name dropping, but retweets on his timeline. I did a little research on it. So let's continue with this argument. This article, because I want to get through it and I want to open it up. In recent years, he claims, the claim of systemic racism has become an all-encompassing explanation for everything the radical left wants undone. I want to pause there, right? Racism is about the harms, the continued harms, not just from slavery. Again, let me stress, what we suffered after slavery was exponentially worse. Exponentially worse. It is what we are asking for is a repair of continued harms. These harms continued. I just read from the Citigroup article. I just read from it. Evan, like Jay-Z said in that, I'm from where proof is truth. Don't give me your opinion. I'm from where proof is truth. Don't tell me about the radical left. I should have put the articles in the Jumbotron where the Democrat top leadership said, let's stop talking this reparations talk. They don't want to get, this white supremacy is on both sides of the aisle. They don't want to give us reparations. We live in a corporatocracy where this country has to have a proxy bottom caste. What's wrong with this guy? In recent years, the claim of systemic racism has become an all-encompassing explanation for everything the radical left wants done. Don't mix us up with the radical left, because we're not left-wingers over here. Most of the people in this reparationist movement are not left-wingers, and they're not right-wingers either. By their definition, they're not left nor right. He says this movement, right? The way he tries to, the way he slickly tries to tie together certain things. For me, it's easy to see, but the average person reading this, the average white person, maybe it's a white right winger that looked at some of the reparations arguments and said, you know what, man, maybe black people do deserve reparations. And this guy comes along and says, well, let me bring them back. Let's snap them back to reality. Black people, freedmen, specifically the American freedmen, must stay at the bottom in this country. No, Douglas, no longer. He says this movement looks at complex problems and presents a simple answer: racism because of white supremacy. Now, one of the things that has come out from the right is, this claim that white supremacy doesn't exist. White supremacy doesn't exist. It's not a thing. I'm a cite from out of page 264, The Bloody Shirt, Terror After the Civil War by Stephen Budiansky. We did a book club book on this. This is a quote coming from Pitchfork Ben Tillman. Right? Because they didn't like me on the thread yesterday calling them devils. And I was strictly speaking to the racists. If you're a racist, you're a devil. You're a bigot, you're a devil. Point blank, period. And this guy's name, literally, Pitchfork Ben Tillman. Let's look at what he said, right? Let me read from the book. It says he was elected and then United States Senator And for 40 years, he fought off attacks by the Bourbons and the real populace alike by reviving the horrors of quote unquote Negro misrule that he said the state had endured under Reconstruction. That was his ticket to power. And for 40 years of political life, he offered what he called, quote unquote, a solid front to all comers on the bond of white supremacy. Pitchfork Ben Tillman was the mentor of one of the most famous modern day racists and segregationists in Strom Thurmond. This was his mentor directly. Who was one of Strom Thurmond's best friend in Congress? Old Jim Crow Joe Biden. You see, this white supremacy thing is pervasive. We're speaking about our justice. We're speaking about being repaired. He then says, as I researched these problems for my latest book, I did wonder whether anyone claiming to speak about reparations had done any real thinking on it. Duh. Dr. Sandy Darity and A. Kirsten Mullen wrote a whole book on it, expertly breaking down reparations from point A to point Z. I bet he didn't read it. He's too busy listening to graham crackers like Thomas Sowell. I told you I'm gonna be talking a little spicy today, family. I said that a little earlier. We're gonna call these fork-tongued devils out. You want to know what the problem is with the Republican Party and why they have an issue attracting black folks? Look no further than this Douglas guy and the New York Post and Fox News and all of them that let this type of stuff live and breathe. At what point do we get rid of this nonsense? We built this country. Donald Trump said it out of his own mouth. The black Americans built this country. The freedmen built this country. We built it. The economic base of this country was because of the free labor, the forced labor. Let me correct that. The forced free labor of my ancestors in this country. Without it, America probably dies like any other country that has came up and fell over the past several millennia. He says, for instance, today in America, we are no longer talking about a group of people who did a wrong, paying compensation to people to whom a wrong was done. What? For instance, today in America, we are no longer talking about a group of people who did a wrong, paying compensation to people to whom a wrong was done. We are talking about a group of people who look like a group of people who did a wrong in the past, making a vast wealth transfer to another group of people who look like a group of people to whom a wrong was done. Black Americans.
That's the point. So
Go ahead,
the
bro.
new whites just look like the old whites, right? I guess they didn't inherit that wealth from slavery. And then the new blacks, and I mean freedmen, we just look like the previous freedmen. I guess, we are not the progeny of our grandmothers and great grandmothers and stuff like that. But then he says, like, whites is going to make a wealth transfer, and he's alluding to their personal, like, bank accounts and checking accounts, and somehow they're going to transfer their wealth over to us, right? And he's basically making this a left wing versus a right wing thing. Look at all those blacks over on the left wing pressuring Biden and pressuring those white folks over here to make the white folks on the right give them their wealth. So the whole way, he said, has anybody done any serious thinking on this? Like it's remedial. This whole article is remedial, and it's just a gaslight. He gets everything wrong, right? Everything in this article, you can just ball this article up and throw it in the trash. He gets it wrong, but this is like a Fox News highlight special because he's aiming this at a particular type of person, saying, look, I know you don't know nothing about reparations, so let me introduce you to reparations. And there are some savvy racists on the right that even have some black people for. I was listening to a lecture by a prominent Islamic scholar, and he says, man, look, if y'all ain't listening to Jordan Peterson, y'all missing something in life. So, like, these races is getting more seven. They all don't have the IQ of a Tucker Carlson. Some of them is, come in with their academic prestige, and they know how to talk on different subjects, and then they immerse that anti-freedman language in there. And so, we just got to watch out for that. But this guy ain't one of them, right? This guy in this article don't hit the spot.
Yeah, he's a lightweight. I said I was going to call out Jordan Peterson. I would love to call Jordan Peterson out. So it being that he is the one that seems to intellectualize certain portions of fascism, I would love to have a debate with him on reparations. We will absolutely cook these people. I don't believe that they would step up. I just don't. I invited Douglas to come on. It's about 6 o'clock over there in British time, if I'm not mistaken, Britain time, right? So let's get back to this thing. that word salad sentence was so funny to me the first time that I read it, right? Because it goes to the image that he has opening up the article with, which is a white hand handing money to a black hand, because white people believe that this is their government. They believe that. Let me before I continue, when this country articles of confederation were ratified, and this is for the people that do not know this, black people were citizens in at least 5 states. They voted to have these articles of confederation, the articles of confederation ratified. If you want a reference, a direct reference, go to Justice Curtis, who was one of 2 dissenters in the Supreme Court case of Scott versus Sanford. Everybody just knows about what Chief Justice Taney said, the racists. They don't know about what Justice Curtis and Justice McLean said in the rebuttal. Historical facts. Abraham Lincoln cited Justice Curtis, cited him, cited his dissent that we were citizens in at least 5 states when this country was founded. We could not, as a monolith, which we absolutely were in those days, have been citizens in the North, but not citizens in the South. We were, in fact, citizens, which is why they had the justification of the 3/5 clause, counting 60% of the black population, which they still kind of do today by opening up prisons in these majority white areas and counting the black prisoners as a part of the citizenry there so they can receive, like, this man. Okay, let's get back to this. So he has a picture up here. At first, I was just so baffled by this image, right? He pulled out all of the dog whistles. I mean, you can tell he was really reading the graham cracker Thomas Sowell's work heavy. So he pulls out, he has this image of Oluda Aquino. I never know if I'm saying that name right. Those of us that have been studying this type of information, we know who this guy is. We know his story from years ago. But he has an image of him, and the caption reads, was an 18th century slave from present-day Nigeria who was sold into slavery by fellow Africans, a not uncommon practice during the transatlantic and Arab slave trade eras. See, when they throw the Arab slave trade part in there, Ibrahim, you know they're coming from the Thomas Sowell playbook, right? It's just a distraction. I was watching Brother Tariq Nasheed's video. I was curious to see how he was going to address this topic. And, he correctly said that these are ways that they throw distractions into the mix, right? And that's exactly what this is. This is try to find a way to distract from the point. But he was right? Africans did sell Africans to white people who put them on white slave ships and brought them here to the West. That's just a fact. They always leave that part out, though, Brother Ibrahim. I don't know why. I'm being facetious. But they always leave that part out. They always leave that part out. And the problem is that when we got over here, all of these different peoples that came from Africa during the times of slavery were mixed up and literally created the American Negro because they were mixtures of different tribes. Mixtures of different tribes. That's why we're the best at everything we do. Whatever we get into, we're the best. We're the best boxers, basketball players, et cetera, et cetera. It is what it is because were genetically combined with different groups of Africans. And it wasn't just Africans. There were white folks. Some were raping. Some were just sleeping with black slave girls. This is just a fact. Native American slave owners, the 5 slave-holding tribes, whom some call the 5 civilized tribes, were doing the same exact thing. So we have a lot of different mixture in us, ultimately making us America's citizens. In fact, we are America's day one citizens. We've never, ever in our history fomented a rebellion against this country. All we ever tried to do is get a slice of the American pie. And that's a fact. And we're going to touch on some of that later when we open up the platform. So I want to get through this because let me, I'm trying not to read through a lot of this. I can skip that part because I touched on it. All right. So, yeah, okay. He says, so how do we find out who is responsible for all of this? Really? You can tell this guy's either ignorant or he's playing dumb. How are we to find out who among the black community in America is descended from American slaves and who is descended from African slavers? What does that mean?
That's so stupid. It's funny. I had to laugh at that part.
Is this your king?
He's doing, not only is he doing flat blackness, but he's doing flat white. Everybody descended from slave masters, or so I guess black people think, because we don't research reparations. And all blacks descended from Africa, maybe slave and maybe not. So I guess in his head, to make this work, maybe slaves and slave masters came over to America and lived different lives. We know who was here and went through slavery and the atrocities of what we now call Jim Crow, and who just came in the 80s. Like this guy's an idiot.
Yeah, but and also when you really look at it, right, what he's saying here is the African slavers, right? The people that sold other Africans to the Europeans that brought them to America. They stayed in Africa. There was a whole article written called what is it called, Ibrahim? My Nigerian great-grandfather, the slave trader, or something like that. So, like, these people stayed there. What the hell are they coming over here for? This is, I mean, like, he should have had an editor from America. Maybe somebody from the right that would have been like, nah, Douglas, there's that, and now you got to take that line out. A couple of these lines got to go. Why would the African slavers who are running their own country come over here with the slaves to be slaves? This is silly. This is silly. This is some third grade
He wants to show culpability amongst other groups than just white people. That's why he throws in the African slaver, and later on he throws in the Arabic slave trade, right?
That's right.
Because he wants to mess it all up and confuse people to say, hey, there was a bunch of people that had their hand in slavery. Why are these black people just going after the white people? They're the racists, right? They're not going after anybody else. But remember, he's from across the pond. He's in the UK. See, this is about American slavery, American freedom. It's not about world slavery or what happened throughout other, like, we're not doing that, right? And he knows that. He's just, I'm just going to throw a lot of information at the wall, and to the unlearned reader, somebody who doesn't follow reparations, they'll take these points and be confused, and they'll ask the same question. That doesn't work for us.
That's right. That's right. All right, let's get to this long, poorly written, dog whistle, bigoted article. So, matter of fact, how do we find out who among the black community in America is descended from American slaves? That's easy. That's easy. We've done lineage, our own personal lineage trace. I've done it live on right on our YouTube channel, Be the Power. Pull my family up from the Ancestry.com's records, Family Searches records, to the Freedmen's Bureau, and there are records on the slave registry. This is not a difficult task. Our people were held as property. Property records are some of the best, if not the best, kept records in this whole country. Till this day, everybody knows what they own in this country. Like, this is simple, man. And this is what happens when you have right-wingers trying to sell a book talking about the West, and the West really just equates to white people wanting to live as a fascist government, which is what the whole Civil War was about in the first place. Keep black people oppressed. Keep American freedmen oppressed. And it was simple as that. The crux of most white extremist hate groups today is rooted in their continued hate for American freedmen in this country. This is a fact. This is a fact. So, and I'm going to open it up soon for the people that have some pushback. So he says, some hope to arrive at equality by giving non-Western people a freer pass and carrying out acts of vengeance on Western people. See, he's tying this into his book. This guy was really good at this. It's like, I know my target audience. They white Americans and they have money. Of course they're going to buy. Let me just dog whistle this thing up and I'll probably make the top 10 on the New York Times bestsellers list. He says, Arlington County's attorney, Parisa Degani Taft, recently said that she plans to find ways to reduce the incarceration of black people by explicitly taking race into account in prosecutorial decision-making. The former chief prosecutor has condemned this, saying that it, quote, makes a mockery of blind justice and corrodes confidence in the criminal justice system, which indeed it does. So he doesn't want this, I don't know who this Parisa Degani Taft person is, to reduce incarceration of black people by explicitly taking race into the account of prosecutorial decision-making. Douglas hasn't read books like The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander. Most right-wingers, most people on the right haven't read that book. Most white people on the left haven't read that book. Let me never, ever absolve the left white supremacists. I don't ever want to do that. I told y'all, we speaking spicy today. We got to address these races. If we're going to move politically and salvage this country to some degree, then we're going to have to move this nonsense out of the way. And the people who have always been its day one stand-up citizens, the American freedmen, are going to have to step up. And that's what you all are witnessing right now. You are witnessing a stepping up. That's what you're witnessing. So he doesn't like the fact that prosecutors in the justice system in and of itself, race is taken into consideration. He doesn't know about the disparities between white and black sentencing, particularly during the crack era, where whites got less time for more cocaine than blacks got for crack cocaine. Crack cocaine was cocaine mixed with baking soda. It was mixed. Not to mention the other stuff the cocaine was probably cut with. White people were getting less time for pure cocaine. Let little Johnny go into a drug program. Let little Joe Biden Jr., what's his name? Let him just get treatment. But lock up Tyrone. He's a menace. Remember Joe Biden's speech on the House floor in 92? Lock him up. He doesn't deserve any chances. He's a monster. And while you're doing it, make sure you invest in these private prisons we're building upstate New York and all over the country. Yeah, we're going to put the niggas to work. We're going to open up fisheries. We're going to make belts and fans and everything that you see that says made in the USA. We're going to let the niggas run that stuff inside the prisons. Mostly the niggers. It is what it is. Nobody wants to confront this, but we're going to confront this today. We're going to confront the bigot, Douglas Murray, the Brit, right? And he has this Karen, he goes against the Karen Act. Others also see this as a route to justice. In 2020, San Francisco passed the Karen Act, which made it a hate crime to make a racially motivated 9/11 call against a black person without reasonable suspicion of a crime. The name comes from the derogatory term Karen, which in recent years has come to mean a white woman with entitled energy. Entitled energy. I guess that's a fair definition. It leaves out other elements, but anyway, the act makes it a potential crime to call the cops on a person who is black and makes white people doing so have to wonder whether it will be they who the police take in for questioning. It is also noteworthy in passing that in the current era, racial slurs are actually cool and can be written into law so long as the people they demean are white women. This stuff, some of it is funny. When you know what you're reading, you're able to find the hilarity within it. You're able to see just how funny it is, right? These bigots trying to get one over. So the Karen Act, right? Let me see, because the way it's spelled is Caren. Let's look up what that means. So Karen means caution against racially exploitative non-emergency. It's not spelled Karen. It's not a white woman's name, Mr. Bigot guy from the UK or Britain. That's not what it is. Let's read the last part. In passing, that in the current era, racial slurs, he's saying Karen is a racial slur, are actually cool and can be written into law so long as the people they demean are white women. It's not what Karen means. Let me read it one more time for the slow bigots in the back. Karen, Caren, means caution against racially exploitative non-emergencies, because this is what white women especially were doing, calling the cops on black people for absolutely no reason at all, probably in hopes that the white cops would come and shoot the black person down. You was gonna say something, bro?
But he's consistent in what he's doing, right? He keeps drawing it back to white people, right? White people, look how you are being disfranchised. White people, look how you are being targeted. White people, this is against you. You know, he's trying to muster up that white strength to say, hey, we need to get together and fight against these reparations, right? And these liberals on the left. And another thing he says is that, you know, as if like we got together and pushed Biden to have hearings on reparations, right? The HR 40 hearings was first heard during President Trump's administration. Biden wasn't even in office, right?
That's right.
And Biden seems to be a more staunch opponent against reparations, just like his homeboy Obama was, more than what Trump.
That's right. That's right.
If you ask me, you know, just my humble opinion, Trump didn't take the stand that Biden nor his predecessor Obama took, right?
That's right.
I'm not saying he was pro reparations, but if you're just trying to play that card about, you know, Democrats versus Republicans when it comes to who support reparations, our staunchest opponent is those from the left.
That's right. I mean, at least Trump came with the platinum plan. Some called it an aluminum foil plan. But hey, what did Biden come with? What did Biden come with? He's still doing everything for everybody else and giving billions of dollars to Ukraine. Let Ukraine fight their war. Let other countries fight those wars. Help Ukraine. Because the other countries are scared that the other world bully, Russia, is gonna beat them up. It's just as simple as that. That ain't my fight. I don't care about nothing that's going on in Ukraine. If I was in Congress, I would vote no against any allocation of monies to help Ukraine. Them people don't like us over there. Why the hell would I be voting for it? Why would I be in support of that country? Let Russia and Ukraine figure it out. Hell, if the United States decide that it's going to invade Mexico, who's going to come help Mexico? Nobody. Nobody going to say anything. The rest of the world is going to sit back and just say how messed up it is. Why we got to always go help everybody and fight other people's wars? Come on. This just doesn't make any sense. But anyway, let's get back to this thing. I see you on the stage, Sister Rod. I think I had the mute button up by accident. I'm not sure if I hit the button. But let me see. Let me skip to this part. I come back to Coates' essay that kicked off this debate a decade ago. In his view, there was a precedent for American reparations and the money paid to Israel after the Holocaust by Germany. But this was a payment made immediately after genocide, not 2 centuries after a barbaric trade, right? So y'all know, I want to go back to the bloody shirt. For those that follow our platform, y'all know how we do this, man. We frame everything. We put everything in its proper perspective so that people could have an understanding. I want people to, that's a right-wing thing. So whereas they say, yeah, well, they say, yeah, well, that happened. They gave them. Sister Ross, you had anything to add while I'm finding this page?
Yeah, I can. I just wanted to thank you for letting me up here. I didn't even hit the button to come on, but you started referencing, and I thought I'd make myself useful by populating the Jumbotron with some of these articles and some other things. But I want just say good afternoon, family. And people that is down in the audience. Thank you, Nyhiem, for doing this breakdown. I wanted to also add that as being a journalist, trained journalist, I'll say it that. There's been a confusion, and I was going to put that in the Jumbotron too, of a lot of these so-called journalists, and what they really are is op-ed writers. And if you're doing an op-ed, that's an opinion editorial, you can put in information based upon your perception right now, and it really doesn't require that you can do an article such as this writer, so-called, I hate saying writer, but he did not do any kind of real research, and that's just his op-ed. It's his opinion, it's his editorial, and that's what he thinks. And there's been a real shift, and from when I was coming up and studying like journalism, you had to dig deep. You had to get both sides of what was going on, whether it was immigration. You had to go in and talk to people and find out both sides of it. You couldn't just grab one side and run with it. And I think we do a great job, what we're doing in Be the Power and By the People Media. I think we do a great job in trying to find both sides and letting the people understand both sides of it. So I appreciate the fact that you're breaking it down and giving people the references. If you have any other references, I'll share. Thank you.
So wait a minute, Sister Ross, real quick, before we get back. Would you say that this article was a piece of yellow journalism?
Absolutely. I would say it's yellow journalism because it's not well researched at all. And he's just giving, they get kind of away with it, the yellow journalism and tilting people and slanting them, saying it's an op-ed piece. It's an opinion piece. It's an editorial. That's the way he sees it. That's how they get away with this yellow journalism. Absolutely. Yes.
Yes. Sensationalized nonsense. So these people, they're hilarious. How the Christians say, bless their hearts. How the old black Christians say, bless their hearts. Right? So he tried it. He said, I want to read that part again. I come back to Coates' essay that kicked off this debate a decade ago. In his view, there was a precedent for American reparations in the money paid to Israel after the Holocaust by Germany. But this was a payment made immediately after genocide, not 2 centuries after a barbaric trade, right? So he's, trying to say, yeah, the slave trade was barbaric, but none of you guys are a part of that. He ignores this large gap in the history. So I want to go to page 36 of The Bloody Shirt. And The Bloody Shirt is a book that was written about the terror after the Civil War. The terror, that's the subtitle, Terror After the Civil War. The terror that we as American freedmen faced, and that the people from the North, the Republicans from the North, that they called carpetbaggers and scallywags, the ones that were Republicans in the South that thought that we should have a fair chance at American life. We were terrorized. Make sure y'all get this book, The Bloody Shirt, Terror After the Civil War by Stephen Budiansky. We did a breakdown on our Be the Power YouTube channel if you would like to view that breakdown. So I want to read from page 36. This newspaper, this journalist came from the North to the South, and he wanted to capture the sentiment of Southerners after the Civil War. They were stinging mad. So let me see, where am I going to start from? So one of the guys that he comes across, let me see, I don't want to read this whole thing. Let me see. All right, I'm going to read this because I need people to understand that the mentality of yesteryear hasn't changed. They have just used Atwater's recommendations of not saying nigger, but coming up with new, more sophisticated ways of saying nigger, right? So let me read this. So it says, let me see. I wish to still treat my people in the same way, the owner continued, but they are fast making it impossible for me to do so. This is a old white slave owner talking about his former slaves. There are always some bad men in every 100, and now the bad niggers spoil the rest. Now what he's alluding to is that they are taking their freedom and they're out. They're not staying on this this slave labor camp that have been called sanitized by being called plantations over the past several generations. He's saying that they're spoiling it because they want to leave the plantation. He says, since mine were freed, they have become lazy, stubborn, and impotent. They know that they have escaped from all government, meaning his government, that we cannot chastise them. And they are not like white people. I begin to believe that they are without gratitude. Mine appear, he still claims ownership of them, even the free ones. Mine, because that's what we're dealing with. White paternalism. Mine appear to have forgotten all the kindness and lenity with which they have been treated by me and my family. Because slavery was a good thing. What did Bill O'Reilly say about the slaves that was building the White House? They ate good, and forget the fact that they were forced to work sun up to sundown. They ate good, they lived good, they slept in good quarters. Hey, once in a blue we had to whip a nigger or two. O'Reilly didn't say that part, but I mean, come on, he should have. It continues. He went on sometime in this vein, complaining with a special bitterness that, quote, the government has taken away all the coercive power from us. A Negro does what he likes, and I cannot inflict adequate punishment. There's a correlation between this story written by this Douglas guy and what's being spoken here. And that correlation is paternalism. For them to forever be the stewards over black people in America, specifically the American freedmen. How much does he pay his people? The colonel was asked. Listen to his answer. Listen to his answer, because this is what it all boils down to and why they don't want us to have reparations. This is right after the Civil War, family. This is right after the Civil War. How much does he pay his people? The colonel was asked. No money wages. If you give money to a nigger, he goes and spends it for whiskey. And I have no intentions of making the country any more unsafe to live in than it is at present. Besides, sir, and Mr. W will tell you the same, they are not worth it. A white man will do the work of 3 niggers, and 1 slave did more than 3 of these freedmen. Now, it was funny because the journalist that came from the North, his name was Dennett. It noted, but nothing Dennett found seemed to confirm the Southern whites in their opinion that the free Negro was shiftless, bound for extinction, than the sight of colored people wandering the roads. Traveling in South Carolina in December, he passed many parties of colored men and women, children, young and old, many etc. So basically, what this guy goes on to note is that never in all of his travels did he meet up with one Negro who thought that freedom meant exemption from work. Many asked him with meaningful and hopeful looks if he thought they might be able to rent a piece of land of their own for the upcoming year and work it for themselves. In fact, Dennett saw that it was the whites in the South because they never had to work. The only thing they had to do was ride horses and oversee slaves and reap the benefits from slavery. That's all they had to do. That's all their families had to do. We worked the fields sun up to sundown. They didn't want us to get money because then we wouldn't rely on them anymore. That's why he said that. That's why he kept speaking of his former slaves in a way that he still owned them. Don't give them money because they're just going to go buy whiskey with it. What do they say today? Oh, they just going to blow their money on Air Jordans and gold chains and rims. Barack Obama, many black folks' favorite president, used to say the same white supremacist nonsense. And it's a lie, because I grew up in the inner city, and I hardly seen people with a bunch of gold chains and a different pair of Air Jordans on every day. All of this was just lies.
Not only what you see, but when you look at the data, it shows, because we don't have wealth, but when you look at the black households that make a comparable amount of money to white households, we save more than our white counterparts, and we spend more on education. You know, America is a consumer nation. You get bombarded with things all day, and now that we got smartphones, that's all you have is advertisement. I was going to buy a pair of shoes, but I didn't get them, and now I see them on every social media site I go to.
That's right. That's right.
Ads all the time. So what does it mean to be in America and not be able to, partake in some of the benefits of being in the first world country in the first place?
That's right.
You live in America, you never go out to eat, you never buy anything nice for yourself. Like, come on, man. Why are black Americans the only one that get denigrated for it? I mean, we don't run around buying $5,000 and $10,000 pieces of workout equipment, So I would
Pelotons.
and just a rule of thumb, right? There's this false notion that you're entitled to your opinion, and that's not true. You're entitled to give an informed opinion, or don't give an opinion at all, right? I just can't say, like, I think LA is 1,500 miles from New York City, right? And I never researched it. I never do anything to try to verify if it is or if it isn't, right? You're entitled to an informed opinion, but you're not entitled to an uninformed opinion. You don't get to just spew your opinion and just spew it around like rhetoric everywhere, right? And that's what this guy is doing. Even when he speaks on what Germany did for the Holocaust survivors, right? When you think about Israel and all the aid that goes to Israel, right? That's a continuous form of repair aid that stems from the Holocaust. right? So he's just being disingenuous. This whole article and this gaslighting, and it's intended for white conservative Americans and white people who hold the ideological conservative values all over the world to garner up and say black Americans don't deserve reparations.
Exactly, exactly. And I'm gonna finish this last uh, part of the article, and then anybody that has any questions, raise your hand. I'll bring you up to the stage. Okay, so after that last article I read, this was light work, family. It's so easy to beat these people up. I figured that he wasn't going to come on here. He's probably in the background listening. I don't know, or one of his handlers. But I made sure to post the link all over the thread. Right before he ends it, though, he promotes his book, The War on the West. Douglas Murray. Remember what I stated earlier. West means this false idea of an all-white utopia. And this is my opinion. This is just my opinion. Based on what I've read, what I've witnessed, observed, conversations, debates that I've had with white folks over my lifetime. Over my lifetime. Many right-wing racist groups wish that America was an all-white place. It's in a lot of their platforms. It's in a lot of their platforms. Even the people that might let like a Spanish guy or one of them graham cracker type dudes become heads of their organization, they really fighting for a lily white country. And if that's what the United States of America wanted as its foundations, I'm pretty sure that that's what this country's founding fathers would have done. Go back and read. They didn't want slavery in the Constitution. They didn't want that. They didn't want that word in there. In fact, black, Negro, African, whatever name we go, we're not mentioned in the Constitution at all. We are mentioned in its preamble. We, the people of the United States, to form a more perfect union. I think I said that right. Correct me if I'm wrong. But you was going to say something, Ibrahim?
Yeah, white means civilized. Everybody else is uncivilized. That's why America can go all over the world causing atrocities in other countries, being terrorists under the guise of spreading democracy to people who never wanted it, right? White to them is civilized.
That's right. That's right. So let's end the let's end it out with this. He's trying to promote his book, War on the West. I'm pretty certain if I was to buy this book, I would take a red highlighter and just go through it, and then could write a counter book and call it Racial Dog Whistle 101 or some nonsense like that. Okay, so let me read the caption.
Hey, Nyhiem, you were right. It's we the people of the United States in order to form a more perfect union, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. That's something we need to be teaching
That's right.
in Civics 101.
That's right. Thank you, Sister Ross. Okay, so the caption to the book says, in recent years, the claim of systemic racism has become an all-encompassing explanation for everything the radical left once done, Murray said. And look, I'm going to be honest. Some of what he's just said right there is true. Let's be honest about that, right? Take out the radical left. That's a stupid term. The radicalism is both wings of American politics, point blank, period, right? But yes, liberals have taken our plight as a people and created this people of color BIPOC coalition, which centers everybody else, LGBT, Asians, Hispanics, whatever other group that are considered marginalized in this country, they get to get everything. We get to get nothing. So in that, he's right. They do use racism to basically promote their own branding. But this is why this movement is so vital in this day and time, that the hand of providence made sure that this resurrection, this American freedman resurrection, happened in this day and time, because we push back against those people as well. They block us. Like that one Spanish woman, I can't remember her name, Ibrahim, trying to use the history of the Freedmen's Bureau to anchor the plight of Hispanics in this country. When they were probably wasn't even a Spanish-speaking person in this land outside of maybe a few Mexicans, if during that time. So he ends with this. The people, and this was hilarious. The people who push for reparations in America today claim to be doing so in the name of racial harmony. I'm gonna get back to that. In fact, it's hard to imagine anything more likely to put a bomb under race relations in this country. It has become just another tool of vengeance in the fevered anti-Western, anti-American spirit of our age. So let me go back to the sentence, then this little chapter, and I'm gonna open it up. The people who push for reparations in America today claim to be doing so in the name of racial harmony. Again, this is what happens when you have a lying British person that's not invested in the history of a lying, racist, bigoted British person. Let's call it for what it is. We got to call these white supremacists out. We got to call it for what it is. Nobody's pushing reparations for racial harmony. If you go to the Young Turks, which is as far left as it gets, until Cenk Uygur had that conversation with Marianne Williamson during the presidential election run, they were against reparations too. They wanted to push Bernie Sanders's UBI under the Barack Obama quote that the rising tide lifts all boats. And then if the rising tide lifts all boats, then surely black people who don't even have a boat, the American freedmen are just in this vast ocean of Americanism with chains and anchors. Look in the Jumbotron, family. Don't take my word for it. What's my opinion? I'll preface it by saying this is my opinion. But look in the Jumbotron. We have an anchor around our necks. We don't even have a ship. We don't have a boat. Every time we try to build a boat, these white supremacists set it aflame. And now they have Asian Americans. Because he asked about the model minority, Asian Americans. The Asian Americans were called model minorities in this country. I have another book that I can reference you all, White by Law by Ian Haney Lopez. Get your hands on that book as well. Get your hands on Theodore W. Allen's book, The Invention of the White Race. Both volumes. Read so you can understand. Like, we do this. This is why these people won't debate us. They run from us. He'll pick certain tweets out to retweet to make that type of person look stupid. But when he goes through the timeline of someone like myself and those of us in this American freedmen movement, he sees, these people are not to be trifled with. Let me not even respond to them. And that's why he didn't. He found soft targets to make his point against. Anyway, we're not pushing for racial harmony at all. I don't believe racial harmony will ever exist in the United States of America. Reparations doesn't bring racial harmony. Reparations didn't bring racial harmony to Japanese Americans. Matter of fact, let me take that back. Because Japanese Americans were looked at as model minorities, it's probably the reason those two races harmonized and got the Civil Liberties Act passed in 1989 in the first place, because the Japanese Americans received reparations. Many people received reparations in this country. They try to say the people weren't living. There were Indian tribes that received reparations for things that the American government did in the 1800s.
Look, that's some type of Pan Africanist ideology. Us as American freemen, we don't believe reparations will make America some utopian palace for all nations, and we'll just be running around singing "Kumbaya." When you don't have no food on your plate, you just want to eat. You know, we want reparations as repair to help us repair our community, so we don't even have to worry about what's going on in other communities, so we can own our community, so we can scale businesses up in our community. Like, this guy is a joke, man. Nobody is looking for reparations to bring about racial harmony. I don't even think America as a country can ever get to racial harmony. It can do better than what it's been doing. But like, Nyhiem, do you even believe like America as we know it can even get to racial harmony?
No, no, I do not believe that. Who's pushing for it? Who's pushing for the racial harmony? It damn sure ain't nobody on the right that this guy represents. It's not him. He's not looking for racial harmony, unless he means being in harmony with graham crackers like Thomas Sowell and Candace Owens and Larry Elders. Black people that are disaffected Democrats despise those people. We call them coons. That's what we call them, Sambos. So I told y'all we talking spicy today. Let me close it out with this. I put a link in the Jumbotron. Reparations in the United States. This is every single time. Let me read. An historical timeline of reparations payments made from 1783 through 2022 by the United States government, states, cities, religious institutions, universities, corporations, and communities. This is every time. I just put that link in the Jumbotron. Every single time reparations was paid in this country. But let's go to what he said, because what he's speaking about is reparations. This is what will happen if we get reparations. He says, in fact, it's hard to imagine anything more likely to put a bomb under race relations in this country. It has become, speaking of reparations, just another tool of vengeance in the fevered anti-Western, anti-American spirit of our age. Where was this energy when all of these people whom you all see in that link that I just put in the Jumbotron, when they received reparations? What happened to racial harmony then? Because there have been articles that have been put out that showed how reparations to the American freedmen would in fact help the economy. I just read earlier from the article from NPR where Citigroup did the study that showed between the year 2000 and 2020 or 2021, the economy lost $16 trillion due to racial discrimination against African Americans. It said if they were to reverse these practices, the economy would grow by $5 trillion. What are we gonna do with the money? We're gonna spend it on necessities. We're gonna spend it in the country that it's hard to say love, because the country, they never really loved us, but it's still our country. And I'm gonna stand up and say we do love this country. We just don't love the way we've been treated in this country. And that's a fact. Y'all don't want to repair that. Y'all want to keep us down. Y'all want to have clowns like this Douglas K. Murray guy write this dog whistle racist article so he could sell a book and get his name on the New York Times bestsellers list and get called whenever Tucker Carlson needs somebody to come on and address some nonsense he's pushing back against, especially as this topic of reparations starts to grow, as this American freedmen movement starts to grow. And we're seeing it being uttered by people on both the right and the left. With that, I'm going to open it up. Sister Roz, you could go ahead if you had anything else that you wanted to share, and I'm going to start approving some of these hands. Somebody KO, Omega KO, just mute your mic until, oh, I guess they left. Okay, there they go. Yeah, Roz, did you have anything you wanted to share?
Yeah, fam. I just wanted to say, if y'all see the jumbotron has been populated like richly, so please go to these links and pull these articles down. And like brother Nyhiem has been speaking for a minute here, just and brother Ibrahim, just giving you guys the references because we're not just talking to be talking. We're giving you historic fact and data and being able to break that down for some of you that don't know the data. So thank you so much for that, and I'll dock my yard on that. Thank you.
Honors, honors. So, KO, Omega KO, Kaio, if I'm saying that correctly, you're up.
Okay, hi there, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
cool. Yeah, so I'm an African from the UK, so it was quite interesting listening to everything you had to say. Personally, I mean, it's obvious why this article is created. Because think of what I see it as is that you guys receiving reparations after all the crap they've done throughout your whole history, and them trying to keep a stranglehold on you. Is that once they lose that grip, you guys can push yourself upwards. You guys will actually change America. I'd say for the better of all black people, yes. And they're kind of worried because they're like, oh shit, we might lose our, our status, our power, our whatever the heck they have. So that's basically my view. I don't see it as revenge. I do see it as like it is, justified how the way you guys feel. I don't share you guys' history, obviously. I only share like some aspects of living among white people and the way they treat you and all of that stuff. I see. So yeah, that's basically it. I see it as if you guys get your reparations, it will change America. It'll be to the benefit of you guys. It'll it'll make America better, as you say. I personally think it'll make it better, even though I don't live here. I don't live in America. So yeah, that's really
No,
it.
Omega Kayo, I'm
and
sorry,
thank you.
Naeem. I just want to ask Omega Kayo, do you
Yeah.
support reparations for American freedmen?
Uh, do I support reparations? I would say yeah. I mean, in my personal opinion, yeah. You guys have been in America for how many years? Your ancestors and everyone. Yeah, I obviously there's never going to be equality. To me, I it's my own bias for being a black person. I find it beneficial for black people to be in power. That's just as messed up as it might sound. That's just how I see it. So yes, reparations would be to the benefit of who I deem worthy of getting it. White people will say no because obviously they've been in power forever, but yeah, that's how I see it. I don't see it as equality. I see that one is eventually going to take over the other. And in my personal opinion, it's just that white people might be the minority many years down the line. And if black people are at the top of their, at the top, then yeah, so be it.
Okay, I wanted to ask you, or just make this statement too, that reparations is not supposed to cure racism. And also, just ask one more question. What country of origin are your ancestors from?
East Africa, Somalia. So yeah,
All right, thank you.
no problem.
Thank you, man. Thank you. So, damn, who came? Oh, brother Chris, and then brother Fair this.
Yo, peace. What's good? What's good? Yo, first of
Peace,
all, great
peace.
breakdown, great commentary, great thoughts, great ideas. Thank you for taking this on. Big shout out to everybody that's out here right now, in here right now. I'm gonna try to make this quick because I feel like Twitter gonna kick me off because I've been getting kicked up and out of the spaces all morning. So I'm gonna try to make this quick. So I want to actually go to the article and actually pull out what I feel like is maybe the top anti-reparations arguments that you hear in this article and just put them in one-liners, two-liners for the family who's here, just to get us prepared. So the first is nobody who was a slave is alive now, and nobody who was a slave owner is alive now. That's why we don't deserve reparations. Number one. Number two, Your own people, your own African people sold you here. That's why you don't deserve reparations. That's number two. Number three, we fought a war to end slavery. Even some of the white people fought in the Civil War. So that's why you don't deserve reparations. That's number three. Number four, we gave you reparations in the form of welfare. That's your reparations. Next, you're in this position because of your own fault. Look at the Asians. Look at everybody else. Look how well they doing. Next, my family came to the U.S. after slavery. We had nothing to do with it. I should not be responsible. Next, it's too hard to figure out who is a descendant of slavery. Lastly, reparations will make race relations worse, i.e., make white people mad. These are the kinds of ideas and thoughts that we're going to hear more of. And I put this in some of my comments and some of my tweets, retweeting this Douglas Murray person, that we got to get ready. If you're not ready, get ready so we stay ready so we don't got to get ready. Because there's more of this on the way. As we get closer to reparations, as reparations becomes more real, especially in light of what we're doing here in California, when we make this reparations real and actually happen, which we are going to do, there is going to be so much more of this. Get ready. Get your energy ready. Get your spirits ready. Get your
I think we lost brother Chris. Is that me? Yeah, I think we lost brother Chris. Let's see if we could get him back up. Yeah, go ahead, Chris. Indeed. Indeed. Yeah, I mean, powerful message, and brother Chris is right. Shout out to the family in California, man. Shout out to Sister Camila Moore. I was always got to take the time to shout that sister out. I just love that sister and her energy and the work she's doing with the Cali Task Force and the work that brother Chris and CJEC and NAASD is doing. So I want to give a shout out to the California family out there. You know, them brothers and sisters are out there fighting, and they are laying a blueprint of sorts. So, brother Fittis, wait, before you go Fittis, where are the detractors? Just real quick, all of them people that was on Douglas K. Murray's thread, I know a lot of them are in here. They had a lot to say on they had a lot to say on these threads. I was putting the link. I was telling these people to pull up. I know they're listening. Surely, surely, if you're able to make a tweet in support of some of the nonsensical positions of Douglas K. Murray, then you should be able to come up here and defend it live and in person. We ain't gonna bite.
But
We will chop your head off.
that's the thing, the brother Naeem. It's like, yeah, people will say come in and support, and then we're asking for that dialogue, and people are fearful of dialoguing online. It doesn't even make sense. If you get your feelings hurt, you can always hang up. I say that about bullying over the phone. You can always hang up the phone. You can do the same thing. If you get your feelings hurt too bad, you can leave the conversation. If you get eaten up too bad, don't be afraid to have the dialogue online. I mean, that's ridiculous. So come on up, please, because I would love to be able to hear from you. I mean, that'll be a great, conversation. That's what it is. It's all about, right?
That's right. That's right. So, brother, they're cowards. If my encounters over with these people over the years just confirms that many of these people are just cowards. Yeah, go ahead, brother. Fear this.
Yeah, what's going on, everybody, family? Yeah, man, great space, man. This is a great space. Can everybody hear me?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, see, I wanted this just to when when Logic pulled this up, man, I think I just went crazy. But see, this is the thing though. This is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with like like even with what Ibrahim said, like with I think what Chris said about when reparations does happen. What makes us think that it's just gonna be over? Like the winner, like how Chicago Bulls had their longest reign of winning the championships. Who comes after them? All the losers. So it's going to be the same exact thing when it's not just going to be about, oh, reparations here. You're going to have all of the detractors, all the people coming after you, trying to take you away or off your rocker as far as who you are. They know what your lineage is. They know that. But don't think that it's just going to just end where, that's why I say a lot, repair before reparations. Get your mind right. You can't just don't think of it just like a check or policies back in place. I got this loud sound. Hold on for a second. Hold on. All right. All right. So don't ever think that it's just gonna stop, and it's just like the losers just gonna just see you as a winner, and they're not gonna come after you. You have to get right with your children, your elders. You got to get right with everything in place to keep it on a maintainable scale. You know what I'm saying? And like with the whole thing with mainstream media, propaganda, they go after people that don't think well, that don't want to know anything. They just want to just hear something that sounds good, but it's not good. So we're dealing with a whole lot as far and my man, dude, he's not ready for this. He wants to get the best selling top notch book on New York's bestsellers list. He wants that. He doesn't want anything dealing with really connecting the dots, really understanding things, better for people's sake. Because that really you're dealing with people. People is the problem as far as how they're thinking, how they're moving, how they take on information. Like I say, yellow journalists. That's just what's going on. And as reparation I always say, I say, look, man, we are like dignitary dissertationists, reparationists. We come bringing facts, citing information, references, evidential information, and then you're able to speak it out as far as a PhD level. People don't even realize how we're doing right now. We're doing PhD work. We're actually giving you access of information to put it all together for you so that you won't have to worry about being what you call it, being misguided. You know what I'm saying? So hats off, man. Keep this thing rolling. But everybody, we in this. We showing our DNA of who we are. You know what I'm saying? People got this think about, which side are you on? You seeing what side people are on right now from way, way back centuries ago. I'm gonna land my plane.
Indeed, indeed. I want to. You said DNA, and that was a part that I skipped over in the article. Hold on. Let's go to that part because I was just trying to hurry up, and I wanted to go through it, and I wanted to break it down. So let's go through DNA real quick. Okay. Because I didn't read this last part. He says anyone who thinks that voter ID is intrusive will be amazed. Right? That's this right wing talking point. I was downtown Athens, Georgia yesterday. They were having a Democratic event with the Democrats, man. That party is just getting weirder and weirder to me. But on the fringes, there's some other weird people, which is some Christian right wingers. And, they was go talking anti-abortion stuff. I was agreeing with a lot of their messaging, but they got that blind spot, and they was bringing up voter IDs and the stuff the dude was saying. I was just telling myself, just walk away. Just don't challenge him right now. Let him finish yelling at the crazy chick that feels that we should just be murdering our babies whenever we want to. But anyway, let me finish reading that. Anyone who thinks that voter ID is intrusive will be amazed at how much intrusion would be required to perform this act of mass DNA gathering. Right? This false idea that uh, in order for us to trace our lineage to America, and this is why we got to give a shout out to Sister Roz. We got to give a shout out to brother Arthur Ward, and we got to shout out to Be the Power, my team, the United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen. Shout out my brother Logic. Uh, Ibrahim is on the stage. Shout out brother Josh, brother Grimm, brother Ali, because we cracked open the Narcan and Cobra thing a long time ago. And because what they're saying is rooted in nonsensical Pan-Africanisms, you can get a statement like this, right? Who would be required to perform this act of mass DNA gathering? This isn't a project that would require giving up blood. This is a project requiring, were your ancestors enslaved? Can we find them on the slave registry? Can we find them in the Freedmen's Bureau? Did you incur the harms that was passed on because you bore the stain of slavery over generations up until present day? Because see, he referenced Ta-Nehisi Coates' article in the Atlantic, The Case for Reparations. But that's all he did. I doubt that he read it or listened to it on because it's like a mini book. Listen to it on SoundCloud. The audio is on that article. I doubt that, because then you come to an understanding of how Chicago got to be the way that Chicago is. Black people moving from the South, looking for better opportunities, getting railroaded by white realtors that wouldn't let blacks become realtors, and then doing all types of messed up stuff with home ownership and leasing and renting and doing things like blockbusting. A bunch of thoughts is trying to rush in my head at the same time as I referenced the article and several other books like Richard Rothstein's The Color of Law that breaks that whole red line, how the government sanctioned segregation. Like, people are not looking at any of this stuff. They're making these dog whistle arguments. That's why you'll never see Thomas Sowell debate somebody like Dr. Sandy Darity. Dr. Darity would destroy Thomas Sowell. Any one of us would destroy Thomas Sowell. But, they're in the same academic weight class, if you will. He would never debate them. We called Jordan Peterson out. Like I said, he intellectualizes a lot of fascist right-wing talking points. Come through. Come debate us on this topic, Jordan Peterson. Hopefully somebody in this crowd will send him the link and say, hey, man, there's some guys that think they're smart. And we view you as the highest of intellectuals, Mr. Jordan Peterson, and they want to have a debate about reparations. We would absolutely smoke that guy, smoke him, embarrass him, which is why they stay away from people like us. Okay, so McAdoo is up. Oh, Sister Raj, hold on, brother McAdoo. Sister Raj, you wanted to add something, and then we'll go to McAdoo, our sister, the Queen of LA, and then Sister Evie.
It's just going to take like 30 seconds. But one of the things I wanted to let everybody know too, this guy is from the UK. He's a Brit. They have so many things that are, I used to do radio, shout out to Max Lex and Davey J over in the UK, right? And one of the things that I know is they have a caste system based on class and race. They have all of that. I mean, but it's mostly like a class thing, and they listen to how the Brits speak. If they have that Cockney East End accent versus a high end British accent, then they're treated differently just on that. And in addition, they do look at where you're from and things of that nature. So how is he even going to decipher and pull apart and talk about anything that's happening in the freedmen history, American freedmen history? He doesn't know anything about what he's talked about. He's reading selectively and coming up with that. So I just want to land on that. Thank you.
That's right. Cherry pick. Cherry pick fallacy.
Add to what you were saying real quick. He talked about the Arab slave trade. He talked about Africans selling other Africans into slavery. He never talked about the king and the queen's role in slavery, though. He misses people.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Go ahead, brother McAdoo.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for putting this guy on the Summer Jam screen. Right, he has no excuse not to come in here and debate. He has no excuse not to come in here and debate. His at is in the title of the chat. So why is he not coming in here to defend this article? Because
That's right.
the truth is he'll never defend it, and he probably won't even mention this again. The whole purpose of this article was to incite, inflame, and promote his book, right? And that's the reason why he made this article. He knows that this is a hot topic in the United States, and that's why he hinged himself onto it. And of course, the New York Post is a publication that would allow this article to go out into the internet airwaves, because just in the past month they allowed an article talking about Black American women should marry white men, and they also had a tweet about this Filipino shooter down in D.C. Um, who went on a shooting rampage, and they posted a random black man being arrested. So the New York Post, they're known for doing these things, right? But I went through the thread of this guy, and I found one of his followers who was being like very anti-reparations. She made a tweet. She said, I added the jumbotron. She said, the British are on the hook for reparations also, and we have a vested interest in what's happening in the state. So I think one of the reasons why he made this article as well is because he realizes that after the U.S. freedmen, after we go after the United States government for our repair when we're old, we're going to also go after these British colonists who participated in the slave trade and had us enslaved in those 13 colonies from 1619 until 1776. So this is a preemptive strike by him, because he's a British man, and he realizes that, wait a second now, not only are the Caribbeans coming after us, but after these U.S. freedmen, after they get done with that United States government, they're going to come after us as well.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Thank you, brother. Thank you. Sister Queen, what's going on, sis? You up?
Hey everyone, I'm gonna be short and sweet. I haven't really been following the conversation under his tweet, but obviously I saw the article like everyone else, and I just want to encourage us all to stay strong, stand together. We've been fighting on here for like 3 years with gatekeepers within our community, and because of us, staying unified, we're now past those folks, and now we're now facing white opposition. And so, with that being said, I just want to, give a kudos to you all, because, we did this on social media. Most of us have never met each other in person, but we have a common goal. And we just need to, stop the infighting, stop bickering with each other, and grow stronger together, because I believe Chris mentioned, you're going to see more of these types of attacks. And the key is for us to stay on code and to be relentless. Just like other groups, like the trans, they have their enemies, but they stand strong no matter what. And we have the greatest justice cause in the world. So there's no reason for us to start, running away in fear and worrying about what white people will say or do, because this is, we ain't got no choice. We gotta keep going, and we are so close. And I'm just thankful to be, alive in this moment in history. And I just wanted to come up and encourage everyone. So that's all I got to say. Thank you.
No, definitely, definitely. Thank you, sister. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Sister Evie, you are up. And any before you go, Sister Evie, anybody, where I just want some of the detractors to come up as well. Where are the people that was on these threads? We calling for the smoke. But this is the smoking section. Bring all your smoke. Yeah, go ahead, Sister Evie.
Okay, hello everyone. Hello.
Hello.
From Dallas, Texas of all places, where blacks are, as far as our voting is concerned, we're taking a licking here. Majorly. But anyway, back to reparation. I have always tried to put as much information up as I possibly can. Like I say, I copy paste information. And this gentleman, Mr. Murray, this is to start the white people to get very, very upset with us, and as start what I want to say a race war, but it's always been a war. But if he can put as much fear into white people as he possibly can, then when we go to this political thing where we're trying to pass this HR 40, there's going to be a tremendous amount of opposition to it. Tremendous. And if we blacks, if we can stick together, We can push this through because, as you saw with that Mason, Tennessee, we came together so quickly and so on it. I was so proud of us, so, so proud. My old behind. I'm one of the old folks. I want you to know that the younger people think that most of us older people, black people, are just going along, floating along. No, we're not. We're just from a different generation and we handled it differently. And more or less, we knew our place. My mother used to always just say constantly, leave those white folks alone. She would always say that. And, but she would also always say, get that white man's education. And I actually passed that on to my two children. Get that white man's education. Because if you're going to go talk to him, you have to talk to him in his language so that he understands and can't fool you or trick you like this gentleman that wrote this letter. But England is having their own problems. They have what they call the Windbush, which they brought over all of these Jamaicans and all these people from the Caribbean and had them rebuild England. But what's happening now today with them is they never allowed them to get citizenship. And now they want them to go to leave. They don't have citizenship, so they have to go. And this is today. This is happening now. It's called the Windbush. That was the name of the boat that brought the most of them over. But getting back to reparation, we can do it if we do stick together. And as far as lineage goes, okay, so I will open myself up and I will let you guys can just jump on me as if you might, as if you will. However, I am an African American, but I call myself a Black American. I don't that
No,
white
we
African
don't.
stuff.
Wait, hold on, sis. We don't do that over here. This is not those where we know that African American is a legal term for our people, just like black. So we're not of those groups of people that say, "Oh, don't call yourself African American." No, we don't do that over here.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. Now, with me, I'm coming with a double, what would you call lineage? My mother's from Mount Sterling, Kentucky, black woman, who her father sent her and her sister up to Cleveland from Kentucky so that they could get better educated. Now, that's my what is it, a slavery lineage. Her father was a sharecropper.
And hold on, sis. I'm sorry because we got people with their hands raised. So I just kind of want to get to the
gist
topic.
of it.
Yeah, it's reparations about revenge or justice. Did you read this New York Post
Yes,
article?
I did. Yes, I
Okay.
did. Now it's about justice. We've earned it. We've earned it. I'd say it's owed to us, and that's where I'll end it. It's owed to us.
Indeed. Thank you, sis. Yeah, guys, Sister Ross.
I just wanted to let everybody know too, especially Sister Evie and anybody else who doesn't know. We have the somebody's mic is open. Can you thank you so much. Just wanted everybody to know that we have bythepeoplemedia.com. The link is in the Jumbotron. Brother Arthur Ward and myself and Sister Angie from Baltimore did a full reading and breakdown of the HR 40, and you can go in there and check that out. We also did NARC and Cobra IBW 21 breakdown, who they are, how to get in touch with them, because it's a lot that's happening at this point in time. But we definitely want you to fully understand everything that's happening politically, and to us, it's not about age; it's about stage. Are you willing to support the information that's being given out and the intellectual dialogue that's happening? It's not about one or two people grabbing up the mantle and everybody just blindly following. We want everybody to know the data and information for itself. So that's why you see the jumbotron so packed, because we're rooted in that political education for each and every person. We're not about following or helicopter leadership, people coming following behind one or two people. That's not what this is. That's not what this is. So we definitely appreciate everybody. I do not ascribe to anything dealing with, somebody's too old to be part of what we talking about in their own reparations. I think that's quite ignorant and disrespectful, and we not rocking that. So I just land on that. Thank you.
Indeed, we definitely don't support HR 40 at all. So let me see, Sister Sean, you're up to speak. Oh, why can't? Oh, yeah, Sister Sean,
Hey, hey,
you're up to speak.
hey there. I've been dipping in and out. Peace, family, power, and reparations. Um, where I kind of left off with, and I want to kind of hone in on what Roz said, so you can kind of know where I left off in the a conversation. She was giving us pretty much a lesson that an opinion is just that. It is an opinion. It is not etched in stone, and that the field of journalism has changed drastically, where you don't have opposite research to oppose that opinion. So that was something that I think was very, very important. I felt I needed to repeat that. So when we hear these opinions that aren't opposed, they're basically one-sided opinions. So then I had to jump off, and then I got back in with Eva. I also old school Eva. She was I agree with her that this whole article is basically staring doubt and fear, because they know that we're getting closer to our reparations. Okay. So my answer, I like to give a solution. The solution is, one, expect more of it. Expect more of this Douglas Murray type article. And I think when these things come out, so it doesn't get out of hand. It's
Let me
almost
let
like a
me
nip it in the bud.
let
Let's
me
let's
ask
just
you. Yeah,
yeah,
hold
let's
on,
just
sis.
nip it in the bud.
Hold on, sis. Let me ask you, like, what part of the article did you find? There was several parts that I found particularly disturbing, right? And as just a bunch that I could call offhand. The way he was using certain dog whistle tactics to make it seem like this was going to be a wealth transfer, white people giving black people money. What did you see or read that made that kind of triggered you?
Well, pretty much all of his points were they really, really weren't valid if you had somebody who could spar with him properly, right? But the biggest thing is that um here's the one that I hate. Here's my trigger. I hate, and it triggers me when I have these conversations and they want to go down the road that, oh, this was a long time ago. And they want to go down to the road of, or down this road that you weren't even in slavery. That is my trigger, specifically to answer your question. And let me just tell you why. And then generally, if I do have the conversation, here's what I say. Right now, in further studies, they're even saying that this damn trauma, that this whole U.S. chattel slavery that we've had to endure is actually affecting our genetics, right? It's affecting
No,
our
definitely.
genetics.
I says, I hear you. I just want to stay within the framework of the topic,
Well,
and
that's
and
my
that's it.
trigger. My trigger
All right.
is you can't tell me it's long ago. In other words, the subliminal message is this is too long ago and it has nothing to do with you today. The answer is
Indeed.
it does. It's affecting
In-
our genetics. We have a post-slavery claim as well. Our claim does not stop with slavery. We have
Yeah, indeed. I
post-slavery
was break. I
trauma.
was breaking that down earlier when I was breaking the article down. So no,
Yeah, so
definitely, I
that's my
feel you.
trigger to answer your question, Naheem. Yeah,
Okay,
we have a post-slavery, not just the trauma itself, it's lingering. Okay, and I can
definitely.
get down. I don't want to mess up the space so everybody can get there, but I'll be on for another 15 minutes if we want to get into that. But thanks, peace, power, and reparations, or die.
Indeed. Peace, peace, sis.
Okay.
So anybody else that wants to come up and offer some insight on the article, maybe I didn't break the article down good enough. I don't know. I'm just the people. We're the all of them people that was on his threads. That's the part that's really irking me. Like these people are cowards because if they told us to pull up, that room would go from 100 white supremacists to 600 people with 500 of them being freedmen, American freedmen, reparationists. You see what I'm saying? Like, where are these people at? You know, it shows that there's 110 other listeners. I can't obviously see who they all are. Where are they? Obviously, they're listening to this thing. I was waiting for, so I was hoping that one of them would just grow a set of nuts and come up here and challenge our challenge to this dog whistle, bigoted, racist article from this white supremacist Douglas K. Murray guy from Britain. I was hoping for that. And we got none of it. It's nobody. Jeez, it's just ridiculous. Brother Devon from Brooklyn is up. Roz got her hand up real quick. Yeah, go ahead, Sister Roz, while Devon coming up.
I was gonna say, yeah, I'll say mine real after Devon. Go ahead, Devon.
Thank you, honest sis. I just wanted to say I know Nyhiem was looking for somebody to bring the smoke, so I want to bring some smoke in opposition, but that'll be another conversation for another day when we talk about Crawford and Spence. So just put that on hold, brother, and we'll talk about that later.
Spence, I can end it right now. Spence, stop it. All
right,
but go ahead.
I feel you. To get back to the matter at hand, right? The more important information and situation. The bottom line is this: the reason why none of them are pulling up is because back and being somebody that's been here in New York, and so have you've been here, so we know what the New York Post is on. We know what type of time they're on, right? And so when you used to go into the supermarket back in the day when everybody had cash, and when they first started putting them strips in the dollar in the bills, and you had to hold up to the light to see if it had it to make sure it wasn't counterfeit. What's happening is that on the post, and I was on that post as well, multiple posts when I saw the article first come out. The bottom line is when you could just type something and run, that's easy, right? You ain't got to back it up. You just put your comment up and you run. But when we start talking about voice, we got to get in this space and talk, and you have to back it up, and it's going to be a lively debate. What happens is that when we hold their argument up to the light, there's no stripping it. It's counterfeit, and they all know it. And you've done a great job at debunking these talking points. And that's one of the things that I said on that post is that what he did was from across the pond is that he took all the racist tropes that we have debunked as the reparations community, and he just parroted them back. And the only people that they're going to land on are the people that don't do the work, are the people that and it's a saying, it goes, when you're looking for an excuse, anyone will do. So he is looking to talk to the people that were already against reparations, and his faulty dataless argument and his article just gives them the excuse they were talking about. But to go to kind of piggyback on what Chris was talking about before he got kicked out, it's something that my mentor told me a long time ago. And he told me that if you know all the questions, why don't you have all the answers? And I just implore everybody in this reparations fight. We know all the debunked talking points. Nyhiem did a great job at breaking them down, but each and every one of us has the responsibility and has the know-how and the tools to make sure that each and every one of us can break down these debunked talking points as well, because we know all the questions. So we might as well know all the answers. We know what they're going to say. It's been the same since emancipation. It's been the same since, Andrew Johnson came in and denied our claim. So we know what they're going to say. We all have to be able to back it up with facts, because what's happening is, and this is what he ran into that he didn't understand was waiting for him. Every industry that we've ever been in, every arena that we've ever been in, we have taken it over. We have risen to the top. So what they didn't know, and what Douglas Murray didn't know, is that there was a team of freeman reparationists waiting in the wings for them to come with the bullshit. And the same way we've dominated every other industry and arena we've been in, we are dominating this topic on reparations. We come with the data, we know the facts. No one pulls receipts like we do. No one has the scholarship that we have. No one has the personalities and the people in this fight, and no one definitely doesn't have our passion. So when we got all those things working for us, they didn't understand that we got the team. And I just want to implore everybody that again, and I think Sister Queen said that earlier. What we've done is, and I always liken it to a video game, and I'm sorry to talk along about the land. What we've done is we've gotten past all the ancillary levels of the game, right? We went to all the castles where our princess wasn't at. And so now what we've done is we've gotten to the level of the game where now the white supremacists are coming. Their agents are coming. They're going to try to send their best and their brightest who don't compare to us. But here's what we up against now. That's the people. That's the opposition. That's the opposing team that we're going against because we made it through the other trials and tribulations that they thought was going to stop us. And so to that, I would say there is no game. There is no victory unless there's opposition on the field. And this is what our opposition look like. And I'll land with this point because Ibrahim touched on it. All of these talking points are not only white supremacist talking points, from the who's gonna get it to the DNA bullshit to, there was all these wrongs that happened on a worldwide basis. You know who else talks like that if you close your eyes and listen? The Pan-Africanists. And I'll land there.
Ooh, that's a fact. That is a fact. He is absolutely right about that. Shout out to Brother Divine. Shout out to the freedmen in New York City, man. Gotta give a shout out to the freedmen in New York. Shout out to the freedmen all over the country, man. Providence is moving, and you are witnessing a resurrection. And Brother Divine is right. We know what the opposition looks like. We are not each other's opposition, right? And yeah, families have fights. Jay-Z said it best on the 444 album. Nobody wins when the family feuds, meaning the family. And for the most part, many of us understand that. But, every fledgling movement has its growing pains before its wings gain the sturdiness and control needed to maintain its flight. And that's where we're at right now. My brother Logic is in the building, but I gotta go to my sister first, the Stone, aka the Stone, the Builder. The diamond, the builders rejected first. Go ahead, sis.
Hey, thanks for having me. I just wanted to say two things. This space was great. I wanted to come up because I noticed that the guy who wrote the article, he was in attendance at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And that's, where all the journalists, reputable journalists, are invited and they smooth with, the politicians and the president. Trevor Noah was there and, had some jokes about Biden. But I'm bringing that up to say, there are Black journalists that were there in attendance as well. And I don't know if this has been discussed yet in this space, but what this article has shown me, again, is a reminder of, I think, that the state of Black journalism today. It's in shambles. We have no true critical mass of Black journalists. Instead, we have the Black grassroots who is doing what we should be doing, but it really should also be supported by and potentially even co-led by Black journalists who aren't afraid to speak truth to power, who aren't afraid to use the publications that they work for to address this. This is what happened. This used to happen all the time in the 60s and later, earlier. With our Black journalism and our Black newspapers, we don't have the infrastructure that we did anymore. And then we have Black journalists who just are in the game to get invites to these dinners, but are not in the game to use their power and privilege to address pieces like this. So it just reminds me of the failure of Black journalism today, but it also gives me hope that the Black grassroots, we're doing what needs to be done in all areas, not only in journalism with this piece, but also in legislative advocacy as well. And then also I noticed something that he said lastly about how do you get reparations for ancestors you don't know? And that's why lineage-based reparations is so important, because with certified genealogy, we already know who our ancestors are, But with that, with certified genealogy, that's going to help us even more to kill that argument as well. And I'll end. Thank you.
Indeed, indeed. Oh, powerful. And you know, I know they're listening, and I know that they hear. It's like these. What my man said on Django, these are some exceptional niggers right here. I can't stand that word, y'all. I'm just keep it official with y'all. But go to my brother Logic. Go ahead, brother Logic.
Yo, can y'all hear me?
Yep.
And so a couple of things that I just jumped into space. I'm sure y'all did a magnificent job covering this bullshit. But I just want to say a couple of things, right? One, politics is warfare. You got to understand what we're doing here and what this redress and this call for repair is anchored into. The freedmen didn't get freedman status by, kumbaya and, passively begging the government to break the shackles of bondage. The freedmen gained victory and liberation through actively fighting a war in this country. You got to understand that the freedman status is rooted into warfare. Reconstruction was not a peaceful process. That was a very turbulent time in the country with a lot of opposition and special circumstances surrounding what was able to be done and what enabled it to be undone. And so when we're calling for this repair, you got to understand that what the Diamond was just talking about, the individual brought up, how do you get compensation or reparations for ancestors you didn't know. That misunderstanding of our justice grievance is rooted into they want to just marginalize it to slaves, right? And say, well, let's just keep it focused on the slaves. They want to continue to ignore all the ongoing atrocities and the unconstitutional public subjugation laws and the legal murdering of our family members that we know. I know uncles, right? I had to listen to my grandfather and other family members tell me about our family members getting lynched and murdered in Mississippi. I had to listen to stories from my uncles and grandfathers about family members getting lynched and murdered in the state of Georgia. These are people that we know. You understand? Sundown towns and all of the stuff that we have documentations of. There's footage of people being burnt on the ropes and burnt in front of entire towns. This is not some antiquated, ancient crime that we're calling for justice. This is something that is quite recent relative to generational impact. And so we have to continue to focus on not just slavery, because that's a scapegoat for them. They want to say, well, there's no more slaves. Well, my mother was a part of the first people who were bused into integrated schools. Just imagine what her mother went through. My father picked cotton. He got his first pair of shoes when he was 12 years old. My grandmother had my father literally she went into labor in the cotton fields in Mississippi, picking cotton for who they call the Cotton King. You understand? And so there's so much to focus on from the emancipated persons, right? See, because those slaves didn't stay slaves. Those slaves escaped, they revolted, and they ultimately fought a war for their freedom. And then they continued to be attacked by the government, state and federal, you understand, and had to live under unconstitutional laws under the state government. They were burdened to pay taxes with no representation, right? A whole entire war to produce the United States of America. One of the war cries was no taxation without representation. We had to live under that, even though we helped them win the Revolutionary War, came back and helped them win the Civil War. We continued to get taxed and didn't get the services or the representation that the rest of the taxpayers were getting. We have been living under a perpetual attack until this present day, until this very day. And so we cannot let them use that narrative. Well, we don't know. No slaves are alive and no slave owners are alive. Yes, but your grandmothers who were calling our mothers and grandmothers monkeys and spitting on them when they were going to school are still very much alive. I can put some pictures up where some of those people are still alive who were smiling and showing all their little pearly whites while they were burning our family members on the ropes and hanging our family members by the neck until dead. They're still alive right now. You understand? When you're out, especially if you're in the South and in the North, in New York and in Chicago and places like that, a lot of them elderly people that you see were the same people beating Martin Luther King upside the head when he came through there. They were the same people, you understand, spitting and throwing rocks and exercising all kinds of acts of violence on our people.
Hey, Logic, the guy in the article said all of this stuff has been healed.
By what?
That's my question.
And then who is he to say if it's healed or not? You see, this air, and so this stuff is not going to this kind of pushback and opposition is just not going to evaporate because we have the answers to the questions and we can articulate the justice claim expertly, right? It's going to take all that we have within our very beings to see this thing through. It's going to take a commitment like you've never seen before. It's going to take that. Look at that picture, right? That the diamond has as the avatar. It's going to take that kind of commitment. Do you know what that woman? You know what Fannie Lou Hamer went through? You understand? It's going to take that kind of commitment. When was it healed? Was it healed when Fannie Lou Hamer was getting beat to almost to death when she was trying to vote? Was it healed then? When was it healed? Right? And so we still have all of these public
was it healed while Derek Chauvin, whatever his name was, kneeling on George Floyd's neck for 9 minutes and they raided the wrong crib and Breonna Taylor shot and killed her and Sandra Bland? It ain't healed. It ain't healed. So this guy's a liar. I just had to throw that in there real quick.
Yeah, and then when we look at all of the programs to produce freedmen access to capital and freedmen wealth and land ownership and entrepreneurship that was destroyed, was that healed? All those private citizens who contributed to the thousands and thousands of dollars that was in the Freedmen Savings and Trust Company, was that healed? Did those family members get their money back? What was healed? There is no healing in America. You understand? And so, this thing is not going to be a walk in the park by any stretch of the imagination. You have to be in it for the long haul and be committed to do what is necessary to see this thing through. This is a radical justice claim. This is not a moderate claim that we're dealing with. It's going to take radical policy and radical positions and radical advocacy to change the extreme conditions that our people face. Our wealth position is a dire extreme condition that is rooted into government policy and banking policy and things that were allowed and tolerated by the federal government. And we can prove this claim. But it's not going to just be about having all the proper documents and everything like that. It's going to take an effort of another kind to make sure that this thing is seen through. And I just want to just tell the people, just be prepared and be willing to make those sacrifices when it's time.
Indeed.
This is a beautiful thing, though. There was a time when you can say something that was antithetical to reparations, and a lot of black people wouldn't have a proper response. I mean, we've even seen Ta-Nehisi Coates go on mainstream media and get pressed on reparations because he did write that article and not have a proper response. I believe it was AOC on one occasion, and then the second time, he writes in his article about Obama, staring him down and pressing him on reparations and him not having the proper response. What you see now is us going through a reparations renaissance, right? So somebody writes this article now and they get a lot of pushback, right? From people they never thought they would get pushback from. So, that's a beautiful thing. Times is changing. You don't have to get ready when you stay ready. And like Ja Morant said when they talked to him about going against Minnesota, we don't just want the smoke, we running up the chimney, right? And that's how reparationists feel about advocating for reparations. And and going against the opposition, those who are anti-reparation. So this is actually a beautiful thing where you could see somebody oppose reparations and see a bunch of like responses come out the woodwork, people using data and history to defend a point and no longer be on the defense, be on the offense now. So I would just like to congratulate all the reparationists that have been doing the work and that are ready when something like this happens.
Indeed, indeed. Bless finesse. Then we're gonna go to Sister Roz and then back to Brother Devon.
Hey, can I say one thing and I'm going to leave? I just want to shout out. I think I see a black
Definitely,
journalist.
sis.
I see a black journalist in the audience. I don't know him. James R. Sanders, weekend news editor at Complex. Shout out to you because I think you were in the room as I was speaking, but I didn't know you were in the room as I was speaking. But it's a testament that more black journalists should be in this room. And I'm just glad that you're present. So thank you so much. And that's all I have to say.
Indeed, indeed. I can't see him, but if he's listening and he didn't hear this from the beginning, implore him and everybody else who didn't hear this from the beginning to go back and listen, because what we did here today was we deconstructed a bigot's article in the bigoted New York Post, and we did it masterfully. Actually, this was light work. I got 15-year-olds that I could have put on this.
And then the whole title, like, is it like justice or revenge? And see, like, they tell on themselves, right? Because one, right? What is this? You see, what in him personally, like, I don't know who he's working for because, like, you're not even rooted.
He's trying to sell a book, bro. Hold on. He's trying to sell a book. He has a book talking. It's something about the attack on the West or some nonsense that he's trying to push, and everything that he's doing right now centers around this book. This book is called The War on the West. And we know when they say West, they mean white supremacy because they are looking for a all lily white utopia. Right. I just wanted to throw that in there. Yeah, go ahead, bro.
Yeah, and so they say revenge, right? And so let's say, is it revenge? Is it? And if do we not? Let's say it is revenge. So what? If your family was done the way our families was done, you would tear this damn country up. Just look at what happened when something happens in white folks' community. They tear shit up. They get all kind of revenge. They even when it's look at the revenge they got on our families. Even when the cases were trumped up and it was all about lies. A white woman say a black man looked at her or whistled her wrong. What are those killings? Revenge killings. You understand?
Man, they tear Lexington, Kentucky up every time the Kentucky basketball team lose. They don't take them nothing to tear something up.
That's right. You was finished, Brother Logic?
No, and so I'm just saying, right? Everybody gets justice and revenge, and it's understood, except for when it's us, right? So that's just another example of the type of pushback. See, they come up with all kind of stuff. They want to just say anything so that you stop fighting. So they put this kind of weird moral. They try to hit you with this weird moral stick, like we supposed to always like turn the other cheek and just continuously to get beat on and stepped on, like we don't deserve revenge and justice. You know what I mean? So it's crazy that they would even put that out there, and it's even crazier those who be like, well, who try to explain, well, it's not revenge. I don't care if you think it's revenge or whatever you think it is. This is what you're up against, and this is what you're going to have to deal with. Period. So if you think it's revenge, so what? So what? Look at what you've done when you murdered up the families like our family's been. Emmett Till deserves some goddamn revenge. The people that did what they did to Emmett Till should be done the same way Emmett Till was done. There's
3 times worse, actually.
There's still a lot of rope in America. And if you feel, you understand? And if you feel like some type of guilt, you need to go do some self-inventory and feel why you have that fear. Why is that guilt there? And if you feel like something should be done about it so you can get that guilt up off you, you need to get on our side and start fighting for justice, right? Because if you're not rooted into the white Americans who were helping us escape from slavery, and the white Americans who were sacrificing their homes to hide slaves and to get slaves out of bondage, then you were always on the wrong side. If you're not willing to make those same sacrifices like the great John Brown made, gave up his life to strike down the abominable institution of slavery, then you're a coward and you should be scared. Because when the atrocities and the wickedness was done on our people the way it was done, if it was done on your people like that, you would want some goddamn revenge too. You would want some justice too. So give me justice and or give me revenge. I'll take it either way. Because I don't get hung up. Oh, they just want revenge. You goddamn right I want some revenge. You shouldn't have hung my uncle when he was an innocent man and killed him and ripped his skin off and sold his fingers at the store market and held him out and pickled his penis and put it in a jar and put it in your storefront with the mayor and the pastors and the clergymen all there applauding on. You shouldn't have done that. There is a reckoning that's going to happen for the wickedness that was done on our people, and you being scared about it doesn't change the inevitable.
Not at all. So we have Adrian Slusky. He did a tweet, said, I think it was a tweet, said he has his hand raised, but nobody's letting him speak. Well, we're not going to let you just speak over everybody else while they're speaking, but you are up now, Adrian Slusky.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, that's great. Hi, good evening. My name is Adrian Francis Huggett Laycock King Slutsky Harris. I am a white man in Sweden from Britain listening to you for the last 2.5 hours. I have listened to like hours and hours of Douglas Murray. I've listened to hours and hours of Jordan Peterson. And some of the things you're saying, I understand how you translate them that way. But there's actually some there's some good bridge building material between the intellectual university set. There's reparations in graduations, where people get to like learn on their path and stuff like that. The institutions are ready, willing, and able to help you with this stuff. Let's
slow that down. Okay, so are you saying that reparations then should come in the form of a good education? That's
well, not one endorsed by me. Far from it. No. I'm merely saying that.
You're saying that the institution, there's certain institutions who are putting, like Harvard, who have put $100 million to the side to address the racism that institution was built up off of, ready to give repair through its institution. Am I correct? As an example?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. No, wait. No, that's good. So basically what you are saying is that we should go through college and this will be some form of reparative justice for the about 38 million American freedmen in the United States of America. I exclude the black immigrant. So you're suggesting that all black American adults, doesn't matter the age, they should just go to college and receive a good education because it's being offered? No. I'm confused.
No, okay. Well, yeah, that's because I think you assume a negative motive in what I'm saying, and I certainly do not come at you with a negative motive. I'm telling you that there are sort of gateways available. Like here's a phrase. The best of me wishes for you what the best of you wishes for you too. I learned that from Jordan Peterson. He's saved thousands and thousands of people from suicide. That man has done incredible, good work throughout the internet. People are just... Wait,
hold on, because I want to stick to the thing. We don't want to... We're not praising anybody here, right? If you want to praise him, that's cool. But Jordan Peterson, look, we're calling Jordan Peterson out as well to come have this debate on this topic, because a lot of anti-reparationists seem to have Jordan Peterson. They're aligned with Jordan Peterson. So I was always taught that you are the company that you keep, right? So I can only assume that the people who are anti-reparations and align themselves with Jordan Peterson, that, well, maybe Jordan Peterson is himself anti-reparations for the American freedmen. So being that you're speaking glowingly of him, I don't know if you have some type of direct line to him, but we would love
No.
to have him come up
Yeah, but the
and
thing is,
have this debate.
what I was going to reply to you on that one is that he's actually really ill. I mean, he nearly died over the last couple of years. He came off. He was on these very, very strong antidepressants to deal with his wife's cancer. Meanwhile, he was getting attacked from all directions. He just thought he was somebody looking out for people's ability to speak freely, because freedom of speech is a psychological necessity. That was his message that hit a lot of people all of a sudden. So he's put some very, very good people back on track with, living, because that's the interesting proposition that we have inherited, I think, in this world, is that if we make our dreams come true, the world improves. And,
I hear you, right? And I'm trying to follow you, and I don't want to appear to be rude, but there's certain things that you're saying that are glossing over a lot of what was presented in this discussion for the past 2.5 hours, particularly the stuff that,
okay.
hold on real
Yep.
quick, the stuff that we put in the Jumbotron. Imagine if it was your dream to start a business and you went and you seen an acre of land that you wanted to build this business up, right? This brick and mortar storefront from the ground. But you had to battle with the racist whites who wouldn't let you buy the land. But let's just say somehow you were able to get that land, right? And you now needed the capital to build upon that land. Well, then you had to go to the racist banking institution that told you that you don't qualify, although you exceed qualifications, because this has been the history of our people in this country. We have not been allowed to live our dream. In fact, the dreams that we were able to put down on paper, to patent and put inside patent offices, were stolen by racist white Americans, taken from them, built upon. And then the black people that invented these things were denied. Their dreams were denied. So they were never able to pass along the American dream, the fruits of the labor of the American dream onto their progeny. So they got moved into places like New York City, Brooklyn, New York, certain areas in Queens and Chicago and Baltimore and Compton and Watts and Los Angeles, et cetera, et cetera. So anybody can teach about the American dream. Self-help gurus, many of them I think are scam artists, they make a living off of peddling this idea of the dream. But when that dream is deferred because of the intentional actions of the people that we had to deal with in this country. I think you said you're in Sweden or Switzerland. I don't know if you're versed on what happened to my people here, but I gotta school you, because we don't like people trying to come in and be paternalistic and look down upon our views.
I tried to defend myself against that right at the beginning. I'm sorry, excuse me if I may, just for a moment. I have listened to everything you've been talking about for the last 2.5 hours, and it has been a perpetual bombardment of things I've never known before. I have done my utmost and earnest, respectful paying of attention to everything. Of course, there will be glossing because there is just so much detail, and I would be talking for weeks if I were to address everything that you've said tonight. It was a stunning explosion of information for me. It's not something I hear about in the media. You're absolutely right about that.
Well, let me just say this real quick. One, right? People.
If we just did things a certain way, it could bring the community and the country together. Let me tell you, and Nyhiem was talking about the dreams of Americans. Let me just talk to you. I'm sure you've heard of Dr. King, right?
Yep.
All right, and so Dr. King was renowned as a peaceful man. Martin Luther King went to college. He was an educated man. Speaking about education, when he went to school, he got a pistol pulled on him for being black, right? Martin Luther King didn't go for no type of revenge or justice. And when they asked him, did he want to press charges, he said no. Martin Luther King went up to New York and tried to do some peaceful efforts there. And what happened? He got stabbed in the chest, right? Martin Luther King went to Memphis and tried to help organize the labor unions there and do some peaceful stuff there. What they do, they shot Martin Luther King down and killed him, right? And so we have taken every approach in this country possible to bring about a peaceful course of justice. So let me ask you this, Adrian. Let me ask you this.
Yes.
If I came to your home, kicked your door down, took your mother, your daughters, and your sons and your brothers, raped your women in your family, and put your brothers and yourself into perpetual bondage with no rights, and legislated in law that I could kill you and punish you any way I saw fit, you would want some justice and or some revenge for that. If it happened to me personally, anyone, and if it happened to someone that I just knew, I could not, knowing what happened to them, feel some type of way about them taking the approach of revenge, because they lawfully, by God's law and man's law, they should be given that right to seek that retribution. If they wanted, I wouldn't blame a man if he wanted to kill the people who took the family members, whoever rolled with him, his friends, his pals, and whoever laughed at their jokes, because that type of atrocity shouldn't go answered immediately. There should be no sympathy for people who have killed our family members with such reckless abandon that they have, who have oppressed our people with such reckless abandon and wickedness as they have. Every other people have fought wars to rid themselves of oppression. You understand? The Irish were being oppressed. The Irish fought wars. The Italians were oppressed. The Italians fought wars. You understand? The British history and the history of Europe itself is a history of warfare. There has never been a time in Europe history where the continent's been...
Oh.
You breaking up, bro?
Yeah, you broke up a bit there. But,
yeah, Logic, you breaking, you went out.
All right. I have to come back.
All right, so look, I want to, because I know Roz is coming, but I want to, because you made a tweet a few minutes ago, and you said, I agree about the races, but I forced you to make a distinction that you didn't before. This highlights the point. Casual dismissal of the bad whites for being evil or misinformed is doing a lot of the work that CRT serves to reinforce. And parents don't want this for their kids. So let's start there, right? What is CRT? Define CRT.
Well, I know that it came back from, it's got its roots back in, into the 80s. I know that I'm aware of characters, people, human beings, Kimberly Crenshaw and such, and bell hooks, and I've been, my job as a postman.
But that's not a definition. Can you give us
okay?
Yeah, define it.
Define, rate, CRT.
Okay, yeah, I'll give you a chance to Google it. Sure.
No, I don't need to. No, I don't need to.
Okay, well then.
I was just about to say, in my job, I've been listening to people talking since 2005. I've been at a university inside my head for the last 15, 20 years.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, I know a lot of this stuff, and I come at you with experience of this information. And man, I grew up looking up to you guys. I was born in 1972. Racism became a bad thing in about the early 80s. And
you talk about in Sweden?
No, that was my point of view growing up as a kid. And I've looked up to so many of you that the idea now is that I can never not be a racist anymore. It just seems a little bit sad, really.
Okay, wait, you're going off the point. I want to stick to CRT for a minute. Then we're gonna get to the look up to you, the look up to you part of it, right?
Yeah. So the CRT.
So hold on.
Oh,
what do you mean?
The definition. Sorry.
Because you danced around the question. We know what critical race theory is, and we know what that body of knowledge entails. I've been hip to critical race theory as a subject in colleges and universities for at least 12, 13 years, right? So we know what it is. It is, in summation, it is a study of the effects that systemic racism has had on Black people in the United States of America. And that study had also expanded to include other groups like Hispanics, et cetera, et cetera. That's it in and of a nutshell. But when you say casual dismissal of the bad whites for being evil or misinformed is doing a lot of the work that CRT serves to reinforce. What do you mean by that? Because what your sentence doesn't align with what critical race theory is.
No, I mean, I was just sort of like, the thing is, critical theory has its roots even further back in the 1960s. All right, so there's actually been like a sort of like an attempt at deconstruction of language for a long time, and what we're finding is more and more detail at a time when everybody's getting atomized and the internet's happening and tensions and the planet and all this sort of, and there's just so much going on in people's brains at any given one time. We don't know if the crush is coming from outside or inside. You know, it's like it's intense.
I'm sorry, man. I'm trying to follow you, and I don't know. Look, let me ask this real quick. Go ahead, bro.
All right. And so you're in Europe, right? So just imagine a world, if you will, right, where there was never any denazification of Germany, and the victims in Germany still had to ride down highways called like Adolf Hitler Highway, or they had to go to
Joseph Goebbels High School
Film Institute, or Hiram Himmler's police academy, and there were still swastikas up everywhere on the state buildings and all of that, right? No one in Germany has to live through that. The equivalent to that is the fact that the American freedmen here, we have to ride down Jefferson Davis Highway. We have to go to Lee Elementary. These were Confederate criminals who fought to preserve the institution of slavery, and every day we have to go to institutions and see the banner of the rebel Confederates waving on top of state buildings and monuments. This is a crime. You understand? We have to live through that, and that's been going on for quite some time in America. So just imagine the early freedmen who were close to this early atrocities, having to see the monsters who were ruling their lives memorialized, right, in statues and monuments, and the people who actually lost the Civil War got to continue to wave their flags over state buildings. Not only that, get the institutions that are charged with the sacred duty of educating the population named after them. Not only that, right, but they got put right into power to create legislation to subjugate them to the public. And we had to live through that, through law, through what they call the black codes here in America. Imagine if there was the Jew codes in Germany. So after World War II was won and the Holocaust ended, they had laws instituted to subjugate the Jewish community, in Germany. See, no one thinks about it along those terms. But you would think of that very differently if there was an outcry pouring from Europe saying we still have to be reminded of this Holocaust every time we drive down Adolf Hitler Highway. See, but nobody cares about the freedmen plight, though. When it's someone else, you immediately understand their circumstances and their predicament. But when it's us, we have to explain and explain and explain and explain. You should see that, and you should automatically say, I'm willing to do whatever the fuck it takes to get these people justice. If you were a friend of justice,
that's what I feel.
Justice, and not only that, you would take it a step further. Anyone that obstructed justice, you would actively get involved in that. You would go to the white community. You wouldn't. I'm not saying that you're not welcome in this space, but you wouldn't be in this space. You would be in the white spaces, chastising your white brothers and sisters on the bullshit that they're allowing to be perpetuated, and you would be fanning the flames of justice there.
But instead, he's saying that we are continuing the work of the boogie man or boogie person or whatever, which is CRT, and trying to point out the actions of the bad white folks and making it seem as if it's all white folks, because that's what CRT does. So, I mean, look, you can...
If it ain't all white folks, then you good white folks need to do a better job at separating yourselves from the bad white folks.
That's right, because you sounded like one of the bad... Because you sounded like one of the bad white folks to me.
I'm so sorry that I come across that way, because I assure you my intentions are a complete polar opposite. I mean, like I said, I've been
We're
listening
more
to.
concerned about your actions, Adrian. We're not concerned about good intentions. The road to hell has been paved with good intentions. We want to
Yeah,
see the good
but bad
actions. We want to
intentions
see
is
the
not the
actions.
answer. But
No,
bad intentions is
Adrian.
not the answer. I
No,
I
Adrian,
I
Adrian, Adrian,
I
Adrian.
go
We will
on
let
stage. I
Adrian,
perform.
Adrian, Adrian. We will let you know what the answer is. You don't know what the answer is. This isn't your problem to solve. If you want to be a part of the solution, you need to listen. And we're telling you what the answers are. We have the answers. You don't have the answers. And so when we're talking about action, I'm talking about action. I don't want to hear about, well, I have good intentions. I want to know, where is your action? Where is your money at? If you really do, you have some money, Adrian? Contribute to our cause right now, bro. Put where he can donate to one of these our organization who is actively fighting for reparations. Put it in the jumbo chat. Show me what your. I'm only concerned with what you want to do in your actions and with your wallet. If you ain't ready to put your money into it, you don't care about it. If you're not ready to put your body on the line, you're not really concerned about it. I want to see what your actions are and put your money where your mouth is. I'm sick and tired of people coming up here trying to play like, oh, I'm just innocent. No, nobody's innocent. I don't believe in nobody innocent. If you're alive and you're not contributing to the solution, you're contributing to the problem. So, Adrian, either put your money in or show me that you're about that action. Hey, yo, we can move on.
The link is in the jumbotron. Thank you, Slusky. Go back to the audience now. But Sister Roz and then Brother
No,
Divine.
I don't mind him staying up here because I wanted to. I just didn't hear. I mean, I know I heard the mental light come on when you mentioned Brother Logic talking about the Jewish people. Now imagine too, for 70 years, because that's what we had with the Daughters of the Confederate, putting in the history once our ancestors were allowed to learn. And he left. Okay, whatever.
Well,
I'll
I
do.
had removed him before you said that. So I mean,
Okay,
if he
no
wants to come back up
problem.
and engage with you, he can raise his hand and come back up.
All right, cool.
He need
So
to
I
go ahead
just
and
want.
contribute though before he come back. He need to pay that Freeman tribute before he come back up.
Right. I just wanted him to, while he's can listen or whomever, for 70 years we had the article in that I had written the article on it on critical race theory, where people don't even realize that we were forced, once we did learn how to read and write, once it was no longer illegal, we were brought into lessons in school that were set up by the Daughters of the Confederate that were telling all kinds of lies. And this lasted for 70 years in the United States. Every, little boy and girl in these schools was being taught a bunch of lies, that people were coming over here as workers, not slaves. And they had all kinds of flights of fancy lies that were in the textbooks. So imagine, like he said, like Brother Logic said, imagine this was being taught to the Jewish kids over in Germany for 70 years after, which would be even now, I believe, 70 years after World War II, that they were being taught how the Germans were so nice and they just, had corrections and exercises on the yard every morning. And they didn't tell you about the horrors that the people had to endure. So we're getting sold a bill of goods with that, saying, oh, critical race theory. You got to know what you're talking about. You can't just come and start talking. And yeah, look at that Jumbotron. It's lit because we're also talking about the history of Carolyn Bryant. That is the woman who lied on Emmett Till. If you've seen any of the pictures from Emmett Till's mother allowed to leave open the casket when they executed and tortured and executed her son, who was from Chicago, who was in the South visiting, if you got to see that, then this woman, Carolyn Bryant, is still alive and hasn't served 1 day in jail. So you can't feel sorry for one person that wrote something negative and doesn't know what he's talking about, and then expect for us to sit up here and just eat the poison that this person is putting out here. If they're selling you poison and they're sick, oh well, guess what? We're near death. We're sitting here. We can't worry about somebody being sick no shade. I'm a woman. I'm sitting here and I'm like, and what? He's putting out poison against our people. So we're supposed to have more compassion for him and his lies and his misinformation than we have for ourselves. That doesn't even make sense. If he wanted to find out what to do and how to speak to us, he should have stepped up here on this stage and had the conversation with us himself. And that's the last thing I want to land on is the Be the Power by the People media and Politics in Black. We are journalists. We are journalists. We don't have to go and work for a publication. We are doing independent work as far as educating the people. So I wanted everybody to understand that we're not just activists. We are actually doing journalism work to investigate and do these deep dives. So we're taking the power back into our own hands with being able to write these articles. And on that, I'll dock my yacht. Thank you so much.
Indeed, indeed. Whoo! Fire. You know, the brother, I mean, we be fair, we don't call him brother. Adrian could have came back up. We don't call people like that, brother. That's especially talking some other stuff. This we pushing CRT. Don't even know what CRT is. But let me see. All right, Devon got his hand. He been waiting, but Bless Finesse was on the stage. I think he dropped off. So I'm gonna go to Bless Finesse. Then I'm gonna come back to you, Devon, and then we'll go to FBA Goddess.
Appreciate it, fam. Appreciate it. Peace and reparations. This is a good topic and a good room. I love the fire y'all guys. I see what happened. I didn't know. I just came in for that, but I've learned what the hell going on with these white Brits, much like the black Brits, can't stay in their own fucking business and worry about what they got going on. I even see some white Canadians chiming in these threads. It's laughable and it's ignorant. I don't understand why everyone wants to insert themselves in the situation we got with the U.S. government. But I equate revenge, actual revenge, to bloodshed. So I don't think reparations could ever be revenge. I think it could be a form of justice, among other things. But I think you have to do what happened to somebody, or make it be as equal of a hurt and pain for it to be actual revenge. And just simply taking some money is not revenge. That's just what we're due and what's owed to us, and that we are going to continue to fight for. But that is absolutely not revenge. Revenge will be enslaving white people for hundreds of years and then oppressing them and killing them and lynching them and feeding them to alligators and all the other atrocities, and then studying and learning gynecology and writing books about gynecology after
Wait, and then telling them to forget about it.
and then telling them to forget about it, Lord Albert. And then saying, why y'all niggas broke? I mean, so we just gotta understand, like, revenge is a whole nother thing. I'm not totally out of that route. I think we're being really nice and just demanding our reparations and the money and things we're owned, among other tangibles. But I want that to be clear that is not revenge. That now we can get a little bit of justice from it, but it can never equate to what's been done to us. It would have to be the same thing. I'll land there. Thanks, y'all.
And indeed, brother Devon, and then we're gonna go to FBA Goddess.
All right, good luck and honors, man, for coming back around and running your space in the orderly fashion. So first, I want to open up with Adrian. Like, what's interesting is, and I'm glad Logic checked them on the good intentions, because Jordan Peterson helping other possibly white supremacists from committing suicide doesn't mean he's a good person or has any good intentions toward the American freedmen. So that citing who he helped not commit suicide, there's a whole bunch of white supremacists that don't help us none. So that's one. Secondly, what I want to say is, man, so much good stuff came out from you guys. You think you got it in your head, and then when you get up, you're like, oh shit, I knew I should have said that. But one of the things I will say, what I wanted to talk about is the concept of white supremacists and the system of white supremacy running out the clock, then telling us it was so long ago, right? And that's one of the tropes that he had in his article. And to that point, right now, presently, today, we have courts checking and deliberating to find out if they're going to allow the living victims of the Tulsa massacre to get justice, right? Or to even have their case heard so they could possibly get justice. So this concept that it was so long ago, and that's the only thing holding us back, that's bullshit. Because we got living victims of the Tulsa massacre that still have not received justice, and they're trying to run the clock out on those brothers and those sisters, those fellow American freedmen. So we know that that's a bunch of bullshit. And so to use their terminology, what I like to say is this: one, there's no statute of limitation on what was done to the American freedmen. That's one. Two, we're going to consider all of those cold cases and just understand that the American freedmen are making those cold cases hot again. They back on the presses. We're looking for all present day information, testimony, and evidence that y'all missed and pushed to the side back then. So fuck all that talk about it's too long ago. There's no statute of limitations because we said so. Not because y'all did, because we said so. We ain't letting it go. So it's a cold case that just got hot again. And the last thing I want to say is to what has been going on with everybody, what Blessed Finesse just said. And I'm about to pull my high horse to this train station right now. He said that he doesn't understand why everybody chiming in and wants to say something about our claim with our government. One, we already know that, especially when we talk about this guy who was British, they understand that the shoe is about to drop. And once our shoe drops, they're going to have a whole bunch of feet in their ass because we're going to set the tone and we are the blueprint, right? So they're just trying to protect their own interests. But two, the American dream and the way in which this country was set up and is still governed is on our backs, on our marginalization, and on our exploitation. So what has happened is to be American or to emulate the American way is to take agency and autonomy over not just our bodies, not just our work, but anything that we are doing for ourselves. And so that's the reason why everyone feels like they have a invested interest, that they could say something more, but more importantly, why they feel they know better than us. Because the American dream has taught everybody, the American way has taught everybody that the American freedman is not smart enough or doesn't have the capability or the capacity to make those type of decisions for themselves. It's like the ultimate paternalistic mind fuck. And what we're doing is unfucking it. Excuse my language. And so we just got to continue to work, continue pushing forward. And I just love the fact that we are all maturing and getting more on code. We understand, regardless of small, minor differences or misconceptions or even flat out arguments, we are understanding that we all we got, and we come back to the center and center ourselves around each other and this work. And I just love each and every one of y'all. Thanks for letting me talk.
Honest. That was, yeah, go ahead, brother.
That's why me and Nyhiem had to highlight Jordan Peterson earlier when it had came up. You know, you got people like Jordan Peterson, Norm Chomsky is another one, Bernie Sanders over here in America, and all of the Bernie bros, man. These sophisticated racists who want to deal with all of these issues, but stop at when it comes to black justice. You know, he says Peterson was running around and helping people not jump off roofs and stuff, but then himself was taking antidepressants. You can't help nobody else if you can't help yourself. These white supremacists just be talking in circles. But my thing, the reason why I highlight Jordan Peterson is because he has that academic background and he speaks on issues that's pertinent to about 10-15% of, you know, what black people go through. A lot of us won't distinguish when he gets anti-black, and he's sowing the seed, right, for being anti-black, anti-reparations. And we have a lot of our esteemed scholars who listen to him. So that's just something to watch out for in the future. This Swedish guy, he comes in, listen, he's a Jordan Peterson follower. He didn't say anything to me that let me know he was pro-reparations, right? You know, we're not trying to get reparations only if it could bring about world peace, justice, and harmony, right? This is not going to be a kumbaya moment. We want reparations for the sake of repair for American freedmen, right? And if white America and if whites globally have to give a little bit, damn it, that's what you got to do for the sake of justice, right? And I'll end right there.
Oh, indeed, indeed. You know, I think about when we do spaces like this and white folks do come up, and Brother Logic brought up John Brown, that great American hero. Right? John Brown was a great American hero. They asked Malcolm, I think there was the OAU summit, I believe it was, and they, you know, the reporters, the little slick racists, sort of like the guy we're covering today. Hey, Malcolm, would any white people be invited? And Malcolm was like, well, if John Brown was alive, he'd be invited, right? We've yet to see white people come up with that John Brown energy. Like, yo, I understand what it is. I'm rocking with y'all. I'm for American justice, freedom for all, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm rocking with y'all. We don't, it just seemed like those type of people do not exist anymore. And a lot of the white people that we're dealing with are not, to use the, for lack of a better term, foundational white Americans. They're not the original Anglo-Saxons that founded this country. A lot of the white people that we're dealing with are of immigrant stock. These were the people, if you read Roy Bex's book, Back of the Hiring Line, these are the people that came in and adopted white supremacy. They weren't even white in their own home countries. They were Italian and Irish, etc., in their own home countries. Soon as they get to the United States of America, they become white people. Soon as they get to New York City, they become white people. Violent white people. Violent white people against freedmen, and then eventually against each other, and then eventually they formed a commission with Italian, Jewish, and Irish mafias. And like we say all the time, family, we didn't come up off of crime. We as American freedmen came up off of trying to live the American dream. The Bank of Italy is now the Bank of America, another institution that has been highly discriminatory towards us for decades. Think about that. The Bank of Italy is now the Bank of America. We have so many hurdles to face in this nation, and we stand on our own 2 feet. We don't need a John Brown. So I want to be clear. We in a different era of time now. But the point that I want to stress is that nobody comes up with that John Brown energy. I'm rocking with y'all. Everybody wants to be condescending in their own little way. This guy's on the stage saying one thing, but tweeting something out. Then he couldn't even define what CRT is because he just sounds European and intellectual. And man, shut up. Get your ass out of here, man. Because you tweeting something else. Trying to make it seem like we're pushing this boogeyman called CRT. What right wingers in America are calling CRT, their definition of it is a sanitized version of history. Period. Let's remove. Oh, they're removing statues? Well, let's remove the actual history out of the school books that the Daughters of the Confederacy worked so hard to put in there and brainwash American children for the past several generations. We have to maintain some vestiges of white supremacy in this country. And that's all that is. So I want the detractors to come up, of course, the white people that are detractors, that follow the line of reasoning of Douglas Murray. But I will also, when we hold these spaces, where them John Browns at? That's the true test right there of allyship. Because John Brown was about that. Life. And I honor John Brown as an American hero. So if somebody walk in my crib and see a bunch of pictures hanging up, and they say, "Who is that white man?" John Brown. John Brown. That's who that white man is. So, FBA goddess, you're up.
Ooh, this I missed that bullshit, so I didn't get to hear what the hell that dummy was saying. So I'm glad I didn't, because I ain't want my ears to bleed. But anywho, when it comes to reparations about being revenge or justice, because I just think about that I raised children on the belief of this lie that they gave me, and that they continue giving to my children that are grown now. So when I'm trying to give them the truth, they are bucking at me, and you know, because I taught it to them, you know, some of the shit. And so I'm mad about that bullshit. So no, it's justice. Also, it's justice because it's not revenge. When you work for something, you're supposed to get paid for it. So my ancestors didn't pick their check up. So who's to pick their check up when they're not here? The next. 29. That's me. Cut my fucking check. I want my money. I want it now. Also, what else did we say? Oh, about that ugly lady, that old ugly lady, what's her name, that lied on Emmett Till. She lives in Raleigh, North Carolina, where I live at today. She's been living here for 65 years, and I unfortunately just found that out last week. So if we want to do a pull-up summer, just let me know. I have her address. We can do a pull-up summer. I'm all for it. I've been putting that on my timeline. We need to pull up to this bitch house because she don't need to be living comfortable no more. Not around here.
Indeed, indeed. So, man, you know, that's fine. And I know the sister spoke very passionately. Shout out to the sister. I want to be clear about reparations, right, and what we're pushing. We are pushing for the monetary compensation that is owed to our people. Absolutely. So when you hear people saying cut the check, that's what we mean. But we are also pushing for other programs, if you will, that will repair the thing. We have Freedmen hospitals in this country, all over this country. Freedmen hospitals. The last one was closed down. I believe that was 72, Sister Ross, and they changed it to the Howard University Hospital.
Howard University. Yeah,
okay.
Howard University Hospital.
Right? So now when you look at the disparity between black women who die giving childbirth and white women, it's like the racial disparity. Because we are America's day one citizens. So we have to measure everything else with America's day one citizens who unfortunately, fall under white because of the immigrant status. We don't know who's a quote unquote foundational white American, for lack of a better term. But we know who the American freedmen are. That's a fact. We know who we are. And that system of repair has to be medically, educationally. We're putting some things together in the background. Make sure y'all go to our website, BETHEPOWER.org. Also, our website, USADOF.org. It's in the Jumbotron. We have a 12-point agenda. Both agendas are on each website. The USADOF.org website is in the Jumbotron. We have a powerful political agenda that we're working on behind the scenes. We're crafting language and legislation behind. We're doing a lot of works behind the scenes. And that's a fact. And those that know. And only outside of my team, only very few do know. Like Ross said, we don't come on Twitter spaces and discuss strategy. We don't do that. Right. So I just wanted to let it be known that reparations is every harm that we had. We lost how many acres of land in the past 100 years? Our land ownership has been stripped from us through old slave power racist laws like heirs property, and just having our land taken from us for a bevy of different reasons. A bevy of different reasons. So we want to make sure that people understand that reparations is a whole system of repair, including some of the things that I've mentioned, plus cash payments. We want everything that's owed to us, whether it's our share of contracts relative to our population size in this country. There's no way that we should only be receiving 2%. I can't even remember 2 or 3% of all federal contracts, and we represent 12, 13% of the population. We should be receiving our share of the population's worth of those contracts like every other group. That's why they have surpassed us, Douglas. They were given opportunities that were stripped from us, that we were boxed out of, Douglas. And when I say Douglas, I'm speaking to the writer of that stupid racist article that he wrote. So I'm gonna close this thing down soon. I got local politics to do. I got a little school board candidate vetting thing going on today, but I got time. Brother Chris is back up. What's going on, Brother Chris?
Yo, what's good? Yo, I'm gonna just pop back up real quick. If I get cut off, I get cut off because that's what it is. But when I came on earlier, first of all, this is a fire. It's a fire space, fire space. Shout out to everybody, brother. Shout out to everybody out here, everybody in here. When I was on first, I pointed to the top and felt like 8 anti-reparations ideas that's in this article by Douglas Murray. That's in this opinion op-ed piece by Douglas Murray. There's about 8 of them. I want to, as we were talking, as Divine was saying, as I was saying, as everybody else here have been saying, to get ready and how you get ready and how you push back and fight back against some of these bogus claims, these bogus ideas. I want to go through each one of these real fast, just with an off the top of the head freestyle of how you push back. Because keep it real. If you go to the tweets, if you go to the comments from this Douglas person, it's thousands of likes on his tweets. It's hundreds of retweets.
That's right.
It's big anti-reparations energy. So let's get it. First thing is, nobody was alive now who was a slave. So nobody who was a slave owner is alive. So that's why you don't deserve reparations. The U.S. government is alive and well. The U.S. government is alive and well, and that is who is responsible for U.S. slavery. Your own people sold you here. That's why you don't deserve reparations. True. We'll get to them after we deal with you. We'll get to them after we deal with you. We fought a war to end slavery. Even my white ancestors fought in the Civil War. That's why you shouldn't get no reparations. Stopping killing you, stopping slavery is not the same thing as reparations. Just like me stopping poisoning you is not the same as me giving you medicine. We gave you Negroes reparations in the form of welfare. That's your reparations. White people get welfare. Next.
Wait, hold on, Chris, real quick. Let me interject real quick. Not only do white people get welfare, when the welfare system first started, only white people could get it. They boxed the American freedmen out of welfare for 30 years. And when it finally got opened up to us, the same backlash that we're getting about receiving reparations, we got from just getting welfare. And that has carried on until this day. Everything that they do, go look at some of their talking points. Oh, they just want to be on welfare. That goes back. Remember, I read from the bloody shirt earlier. Remember, I read from the, hold on, sis. Remember, I read from the bloody shirt earlier, right? And I was showing the origins of this sentiment about if you give a Negro money, he's gonna go, a nigger money, he's gonna go just buy whiskey and make the country less safe. All of this stems from racist sentiment. So when they say welfare and they're using that, that goes to the point that after they got built up for 30 years, welfare helped create the white middle class in this country. You can Google keyword those words right now. 30 years later, after they got all of it, and then it was time for us to get it, the backlash came, and they have not stopped using welfare as a trope since. And that's what we got to use to push back against that. Yeah, bro.
That's a fact. That's a fact. That's a whole fact. Also, and you just said this. We in this position, or let me say how they said, you in this position because of your own damn fault. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Look at the Asians. Look at everybody else. Why do they not have the same problems y'all do? They wasn't enslaved like us. And they didn't get the same kind of welfare and government grants and government privilege and government support and handouts that y'all got. All right, my family came here after slavery. We ain't have nothing to do with it. First of all, you wouldn't have a country to come to if it wasn't for us. So fall back. You would not have a country to come to if it wasn't for us. Also, when you come to a country, you take on the responsibility and the debt that come with it. Just like you get the benefits, you get the negatives too. Okay, all right, so it's hard to figure out who is a descendant of U.S. slavery. No, it's not. Next. Reparations will make race relations worse, i.e. that will make white people mad. That's not our damn problem. Done.
No doubt, no doubt, no doubt. FBA Goddess, it seemed like you was trying to say something. I'm going to come to you real quick, and then I'm going to go to Sister Sean.
I was just going to say about the welfare thing. I worked in social services. I did food stamps, welfare, and also Medicaid. And I want to run some game to y'all on what they do with this government. When it comes to those white folks, they do get more than the black people. They call in more. They think that they are supposed to get it. I even had people who would call in to me, giving me numbers about why they should be approved when I denied them. And that's all the white people, because they feel privileged to get the shit. And they are not eligible for the shit. And it's most of them that call them. And then it goes also to people that are illegal. There are people that are in the United States illegally. For instance, I'm going to just give you this example. I was approving food stamp applications, and for people who have come over here, had children, let's say they had 5 kids, and the parents made $1 million. Well, because of the fact that they are not documented, we don't count their income. And so their children will get food stamps automatically. And it comes at however many children is in that family. So if they have 5 kids, then they get enough food stamps for 5 people in the family. And we don't count the parents. I understand that. But understand this too. If them kids are babies, who the hell is cooking the food? Is it them? No, they still eating it. Now, I did the application, but I didn't qualify. I had to get off work and go and feed my children oodles and noodles. That's some bullshit.
Damn. See, we have to take control over our narrative, and that's what this space is about today. Like, they didn't expect this. That guy thought he was going to do his usual. He's going to put his Fred Astaire shoes on and do his little tap dance. Right? He's going to do his little tap dance and get back on Fox News and sell some copies of his book. He didn't expect to run into this Friedman buzzsaw. He didn't expect this, because people are so used to looking down and talking down upon us. But we are living in a new day right now. We are living in a time of a great resurrection. A reckoning is happening, and we've been on it. But the thing that happened with George Floyd exacerbated it. This time, though, we stayed out front. We didn't let the liberals come in like they always do. Well, I can't say. They still did it. But we were way more vocal this time than we've ever been, I believe, in our history. Let them include everybody. And then the next thing you know, they got LGBTQ reparations being passed. And we still like, huh? What? And a whole bunch of other stuff going on that benefits other people. Oh man, a couple of Asian people got attacked. Well, let's do a COVID hate crimes bill. Sure. And they did it. And Josh Hawley was the only Republican, the only senator and only Republican that didn't vote for that bill. All of the other Republicans, like this is what I'm saying when I say white supremacy represents both wings of this bird, because it's people on the right and people on the left. They will get together and pass a bill under the pretense, the false notion that Asians are being attacked all over the country. Did CNN not CNN, they just reported on the reports that came out that showed that black people still lead this country. It's not even a close second in hate crimes against in this nation. We don't get no bill. We get people like Clyburn talking about take qualified immunity out of the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. Take the one tooth out and make the whole damn thing toothless just so we can say we passed the bill. So when we go into the midterm elections, we can say we passed police reform. Man, I hope the Democrats get swept out. Whew, let me be quiet. Go ahead, Sister Sean.
Man, you guys are cooking. My brains, I don't even know where to start with all the conversations, but let me just be quick. The bootstrap theory. And I like how you laid it down. I really want to replay that back. You laid that down, Nyhiem, very, very effectively, right? And you took us from, I think you asked the question to the dude, how would you feel? I don't know, it was you. I think it was you. If you were removed from your home, robbed, raped, pillaged, and then you took it from the house and you took it to the land. And so what little land you did have, either you had it or you were denied access to it, or it was robbed or cheated or, through thievery. You lost it. So there was 1/4 point that I want you to add when you cooking like that. So yeah, even if we went through all of those prerequisites, if we did get it outside of protecting ourselves from thievery and pillaging and everything else, the next thing we had to deal with was getting our towns and our lands burnt down. And I have many, many stories where people were literally removed from their land, not even by burning, but through terrorism. These white folks just came on with guns and said, get the fuck out. And they left. So the next thing, so that's the bootstrap theory. So there is no way bootstrapping yourself up over terrorism and the tyranny that is consistent and that was done on a regular basis. And post-slavery, we still have forms of tyranny. Another thing, this I'm calling it the illusion of confusion. The white folks now that we coming hard in the paint against them, everybody's fucking confused. And here's the way I come back on that. There's no way nobody's going to be confused. We're in this country. We got 30 days worth of something called a Black History Month. Now, everybody on this damn space, at least for the past 10, 15 years, has undergone a Black History Month. So if you're so fucking confused, why do we have a legislated Black History Month? Come on now. Come on, y'all. That is the answer to that question. There is no confusion. You got fucking 30 days, one month a year to study it, and you've been studying the shit for at least the past 15 of my life, past 20 years. All right? So that's why the HR 40 study, we're going to go ahead and ride with what we got. But this is how we're going to debunk that. All right? And that is just playing the game of illusion of confusion. Right? And that is also equivalent to the paralysis of analysis. That's what Dr. King said. Another thing, last point. Logic gave some very life stories about being calling monkeys and things. I think he talked about his family story. Let me just remind everybody, we're still being called monkeys today. And right now, the damn monkey game or the monkey calling ain't stopped, because we already read the stories about the Ukrainians calling the black people monkeys and playing games with bananas and throwing bananas at them and all that shit. So the monkey game has not stopped. And for the UK brother, he came in that he had this collegiate push. He's talking about somebody who's about to be on suicide or whatever. And, don't come with me no medical conditions. I don't have sympathy for nobody's medical condition, because our medical condition, in fact, it wasn't even a fucking condition. We were fucking annihilated. We didn't even live to speak about a damn medical condition. All right? And if you want to talk, okay, you feel me? So if you want to talk,
definitely.
Exactly. So he kind of came in, this George guy, he's got a medical and all. Fuck the medicals, man. We dead. We were annihilated. All right? So if anybody, and if any of the white folks is like out here like listening to this space, I'll tell you, we don't want a collegiate, okay, we're going to appreciate a collegiate push for Harvard, or anybody wants to, do some kind of repair or whatever for slavery. But we need you to go beyond that collegiate push. We need to push this to federal level. We need to push this to local level. We need to push this to actuality.
Indeed. All right, sis, because I gotta close it out. I gotta make a run.
All right, much love. Bye.
Indeed. I'm actually thinking about, I might extend it because I got another school board event on the 9th that we're vetting. I don't know. We've been doing this for a couple hours. And I don't know how many people coming up actually heard this thing from the beginning to the end, actually read the article, actually, really know the context in which this discussion is being had. So we had another speaker up. I don't know what happened. So go ahead, Sister Roz, just close us out. Well, I don't know. I might let it run. Yeah, go ahead,
all right. Yeah, real quick, I want to just kind of get a benediction to the sermon. I just wanted to say, camelback on what Sister Queen of LA had mentioned. I'm glad to see more people into spaces like this, where if you look at that Jumbotron, I don't know how many points we have. We got all kinds of references and information in here. So I definitely wanted everybody to pull from that if you can, if you should, to be pulling from these references. And the fact that we're really, people are in here learning is exciting. People that are working together. If y'all call it on code, Neely Fuller from DC, my hometown, then that's cool. But I'm glad that we're building and continuing to build. And then I'll just, dock my yacht on that. Thank you so much for this fire space. And I'll dock.
Indeed. So we're going to close it out, man. Shout out to everybody that's in the building. I was thinking about extending it for a little while. Ali is in the background trying to coerce me to let it go a little bit longer, but I don't know. I do want to go vet these school board candidates. I was actually at a meeting yesterday with the president of the local school board here in the city where I live, and we had a real interesting and powerful conversation. And one of the things that I noticed was that I was the only man sitting at the table. I'm like, where the rest of the I felt like Franklin at the Charlie Brown table. You know how the Charlie Brown cartoon, they had the black kids sitting on the other side by itself. That's literally how I felt sitting there. And I was like, all right, I got to do a better job at communicating with the brothers in my locale. So I'm just going to try to get to a lot of these events. And because I'm at most of them. Yesterday, downtown Athens, Georgia, they had a Democratic thing. There was this thing for the Democrats. And, I went to listen. I actually bumped into Sister Tamara Shirley Johnson down there. We had a conversation. We got some family stuff, but it's family stuff at the end of the day. We had a very, very good conversation, but she was there. She didn't even want to get on the stage. I had to coerce her to get up on that stage and say what she needed to say, because she got into an argument with some white Democratic lady there who was mad because she was running against Raphael Warnock. I was like, sis, go get on the stage. I got you. I'm going to hold you there. You good. So, and I know a couple of people out there, a lot of the activists, a couple of the politicians as well. So, at the end of the day, local politics is everything. That's going to be the message that I leave you all with. Get involved locally with your local politics. You'll be surprised just what you could gain from being in touch with your school board. Because I was kind of shocked. This sister knew so many people, and I was telling her some of the things that I've done, some of the ideas that I have, especially for the youth. She was like, "Give me all of your contact information," and we had a nice conversation. And I urge everybody to do that. All politics is local. Reparations is going to start that justice fight for reparative justice starts where you are, right? We could scream up into the void at the, federal elected officials all we want, but if we're not putting pressure on our people locally so that this thing escalates up the ladder, then, we're spinning our wheels in mud, man. And make sure y'all also get involved with the school activities on the board as well. I'm trying to put together a fitness program, for instance, so that the youth could come do some boxing training, little MMA, and a bunch of other little things related to athletics. It's things that we've gotten away from as a people. It's the certain little things that we've gotten away from because we don't know how to address the problems. We feel that, the situation is too far gone. It's expressed in the hip hop movement. But if we give up, who's going to come behind us and carry the torch? I don't see anybody doing that. They're waiting for us to fail. That the liberals, and it's just like Sister Tamara was saying yesterday. Them Democrats, she was like, they mad as hell at me because I'm running against Warnock, because I'm talking about reparations, et cetera, et cetera. And that's what it is with the Democrats. They want us to go away. I've read articles on our Be the Power platform where the Democrats on as 2019 article and a 2020 article, two different articles, Democratic leadership wanting the topic of reparations to go away because they want to be able to appeal to the centrists. The other people come in and adopt white supremacy. Like, this is a fact. I read from a paper called When Diversity for Diversity's Sake is Not Enough. Pull it up. When diversity for diversity's sake is not enough. And the paper is centered around Black immigrants benefiting off of affirmative action. This was a set aside that was set aside for us. Now people on the right are saying Black people don't need affirmative action. It just becomes another talking point while other people get the benefit from it. These people come over here with negative views of American freedmen. They hold the same views towards the freedmen as the dominant, AKA white supremacist society does. And if we don't, those of us that's listening in right here, obviously we're in this space for a reason. If we do not step it up, there's no generation coming behind us, man. We're going to get overtaken, and all of the work that our ancestors put in is going to be for naught. And the next thing you know, Joy Reid is going to be Kamala Harris, Indian Jamaican American, and Joy Reid, what is she from, Ghana or something? I can't even remember. Kamala be the president, and she'll be the vice president, and they'll be like, look how far Black people have come, like they did with Obama, who was not an American freedman. In fact, he had the blood of the people who enslaved our ancestors running through his veins, which is why his policies were so goddamn horrible for us in the first place. So I just want to thank you all for coming through, man. Whenever white supremacy rears its ugly head, we gonna form Voltron like this again. There's some people I would have loved to have seen in this room as well. I ain't gonna call their names, but when this topic came up and people were speaking on it, I made sure I was there listening in. Because we gotta be engaged and involved with each other and on the same page against the thing that ails us. White supremacy is a real thing. It's not a myth. It's not mythology. It's not something that we're saying exists because we refuse to step up the ladder and do as well as other immigrant groups are doing here. We debunked that in the beginning of this. Make sure y'all go back and listen to the very beginning of it. There was a lot of substantive breakdowns to Douglas Murray's article in the New York Post. I'll leave you all with the motto that I say on our Be the Power platform, which is don't just fight the power, become the power. And then and only then will you have the power to make a change. And with that,